What's going on, Clay Nation? Don't forget to like and share the stream out. We have a very interesting episode tonight. If you're watching now, shout yourself out in the comment section. It's good to be back. Inside Two Minds. Shout out to Big Gamer. What's going on, Big Gamer? You bad mother. I promise I wasn't involved in the hit and run. What's going on, Big Gamer? Shout out to Matt. What's going on, Matt? Like and share. We have a very special guest today. Oh, that's great, Big Gamer. Yes, coming at you at a Friday night. Hope everyone's doing good out there. I had a dream that I was clean. Ken Allen, the one and only, the Muskegee Magi. What's going on, baby? I had to do my best Ken Allen impression. Good to see you, Ken. I'm gonna drop a K in the chat for Ken. There you go. That's wonderful. Don't forget to like and share. There you go. We got some K's in the chat. Absolutely. We're getting started here in a minute. Are you ready to go inside Two Minds tonight? And I'm sure once you go inside Two Minds, you will find that you will go inside your own mind. Yes. Namaste. All right. Everyone take a deep breath. Everything's gonna be okay. Let's start the show, shall we?
Why, hello, clean boys and dirty girls.
Welcome to the Sweats.
Sweats,
The Sweats and Steve Show.
a feel-good podcast.
Seems like you guys have fun on there. It's pretty cool.
All together now.
It's easy.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
To sweat and become a clean one today.
Have a nice day.
Sweat. sweatsmusic.com. Along with the new design is pleased to announce the addition of the Sweatshop, the one-stop shop for all your clean needs, with new designs and merchandise being added every season. Visit www.sweatsmusic.com today. Shashakadadate.
I'm Sweats.
And I'm Steve.
I used to be an average, ordinary guy. So one day a pair of magical glasses fell from the heavens and gave me the powers and rhythms of an electronic future. Now with my glasses and my cousin Steve,
I just like to be on the internet.
we're ushering in the future electronic.
Sweats.
Steve, this is the Sweats and Steve Show.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sweats and Steve Show, episode number 38. All right, you know what I didn't do? Yeah, you keep clapping, Ken. I forgot my my applause here. There you go. There you go, absolutely. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. That's Santa. Look at Santa go. That's wonderful. All right, yeah. Episode number 38, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very, very special episode for you tonight, and a very special guest, of course. I had the pleasure of speaking to this man privately and being introduced to this man. Shout out to Ken Allen, by the way, who made the initial introduction, I believe. And he's a very special man, a very very interesting life, and lots of stories to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands and legs together for the one and only Robert Righi. Yeah, all right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to be on your show. And thank you, Ken Allen. You're a good, wonderful buddy of mine. God bless you. You're in my prayers. Also, before we start,
Sure.
can we say a quick prayer or just silently for Jeremy York?
Sure.
I don't know if you know Jeremy or not. He was in a horrible accident yesterday, and he's not doing well. And he has surgery tomorrow. Okay, so keep good thoughts and vibes his way. Also, I'm in Nebraska, and just a couple of days ago, we had tornadoes here that devastated this little town and surrounding states. And the winds were over 100 miles an hour, and it was 85 that day, and it's not supposed to be 85 degrees in December here. But anyhow, everyone is doing well. I helped with the search and rescue some folks and such, but anyhow, so
would you like to lead that prayer, Robert?
No, go ahead, sir. You can.
Okay. Hey, what is his name? Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy York. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Would it be disrespectful if I play some heartfelt music? Because I think it could get me in the mood a little.
Is that facial hair or pen?
That's it's facial hair. Well, you don't like how I do it.
Looks like marker. Looks like you took a Sharpie.
Robert, don't you think I look pretty well kept?
I don't know. Looks kind of fakey to me. I don't know.
Damn.
You better pray for some more hair.
I have pray for some better grooming equipment for Christmas. I don't know.
Oh.
But okay, so his name was Jeremy, correct? Robert?
Jeremy York, yes, Jeremy York.
Wow. All right.
On the field, he's very, very well known, and he is a friend of mine. And I've just gotten word yesterday that he was in a horrible accident. So, or do you want me to say a prayer? Because I can if you want me to. It's
yeah, I'd actually like to see like a prayer. I think I'd like that actually.
And I'm Roman Catholic. In the name of the Father and Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Father of the universe, I pray that you be with Jeremy York and be with his family, Lord. We pray that the surgery his success. Always be with him. I pray that the holy angels will be with him, around him, the surgeons, and also Jeremy's family. I also pray, Father, the universe to be with the people here in Nebraska, also in Kentucky and other places where tornadoes have hit in the last couple of weeks. Lord, we depend on you, and we ask for your forgiveness. We ask you for your love. I especially ask our archangels, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, the special archangel, to be with us tonight, to surround us, and to protect us and fill all of us with faith, help, and love. In Jesus' precious name, for the glory of the Father of the universe, I pray. Amen.
That was wonderful, Robert. Thank you for that. That was wonderful. I would like for you to pray for me every night. I think my you put good energy and positive energy just cast it over me. And I also put, by the way, if they wanted to show their support through the chat, put a J for Jeremy. That's what I put in there. If you want to send some love to Jeremy, drop it in the chat. Shout out to Al, aka Woobs. He needs something. He's okay. Okay, apparently my mustache needs some thickness, which Steve I think would second, but I got to figure something out.
maybe some testosterone would help. I don't know.
Wow. I mean, I'm only 25, Robert. I mean, how low can my testosterone be?
Well, it peaks when we're between 16 and 18 years old, and it's going downhill. So you may have to look for Viagra or something also. So
there you go.
Okay, well, I might ask for that for Christmas then. But
okay,
anyway.
And also, Ken Allen, I'm praying for you. He also needs prayer. What's going on inside of his family, so he needs prayer. So please say prayer for him.
Yeah, keep Ken in your prayers and thoughts, and shout out to him, and hopefully everything works out for the best for Ken. But anyway,
okay,
episode number 38 of the Sweats and the Steve Show, Inside Two Minds. Robert Righi. You know what? Let's just let you have the floor. Who are you? What do you do? What is your life about?
Thank you. I'm a psychic medium. Also, I have a master's degree in forensic psychology and clinical social work from the University of Florida. So I'm engaged. I hate Penn State. But anyhow, besides that, and I hate really the Illini, and I'm from Illinois myself. But anyhow, that's besides the point. But anyhow, I was a criminal profiler for 30 plus years for the state of Florida. In 1980, myself and 4 psychologists interviewed Ted Bundy while he was on death row. He was only 50 miles north of Gainesville, where I was at school, and we'll go into more also. I also mentor 15 children, in which I will call children of the paranormal. I assist them and their abilities and their gifts. And some of them are in the Chicago area. One of them lives in Naperville. The other one lives in Hoffman Estate. But they're from all over the country, and we can go into more of that later also. Also, that I am with these wonderful, precious children in their last hours or days of their lives. And I assist them in crossing over. I see angels. A lot of the children see angels. I'm also there to help the families through the grieving process of losing sometimes their only child. I am a practitioner of past life regression. There are many, many things that I do within the field. My first paranormal experience is when I was 4 years old, and I was 67 last week. And it is just, and I also must say that I am Catholic. My spirituality is based on my Roman Catholicism. I don't care what anyone is. I don't care if they believe in a rock. It doesn't matter to me. They can it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. But for me, my spirituality is based on my Roman Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm Italian and I'm Spanish. Also, that I'm gay. You can tell that I'm gay because I use my. I'd like to be transparent because I want people to feel comfortable with me. It's very, very important. I came out of the paranormal closet when I was 4 years old with my first apparition. When I was 18, I came out of the gay closet, never to return to both closets, never. And let me tell you, everyone, it's been a hell of a ride. And no is left in me, and I'm not going nowhere at all.
So,
and go ahead.
If I may, so you talked about, so you have in many ways, in more than one, you have lots of experience in the paranormal, psychic mediumship, and stuff like that. How did your, I guess, your paranormal experiences, how did it affect your decision to go the like to choose the path of your education, as far as being the profiler and kind of doing that stuff?
It was when I was in high school. My angels came to me and said that I need to get into a field that is almost brand new, and that would be forensics. So I looked it up and everything. Back then we had no cell phones. There was no, Google at all. There was nothing, right? So I just read, and I reached out to some other psychologists and asked them their opinion of what kind of psychology: abnormal psychology, child psychology, animal psychology, you name it, it's out there, right? And one of my best friends, good friends now, said to get into forensic psychology, and so that's what I did, and I'm glad that I did. Okay, and because in 1980, when I graduated from school, we knew of DNA, right? We knew of DNA, and the testing was shabby for it. A lot of our brothers and sisters, because they, 81, 82, it was still kind of shabby, and our brothers and sisters were wrongly convicted and put in prison because the DNA testing was so bad. Okay, by the grace of God, now in the universe, that there are lawyers now getting those people back into court, and and they're being exonerated by the court now because the evidence, the science was not correct back then, and now it is. And so I wanted to get into forensics. The social work part of me is because I don't talk about this much, but I'm adopted. And that's the story also of why it was doing what happened to me and my angels and all that. So that's another story in itself. And so helping other people, and because I believe that I was created to help our brothers and sisters in need, just not paranormal field, but also out of the paranormal field. Very important. That's why I volunteer all over the country. And it's not all about me. And it's not, when I go into like the Navajo Indian Reservation from January 1st until the last week in May, I represented everybody, just not me. When I went to Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and was with our Native American Ogallala and Lakota Sioux, I represented everyone. And when I went to the Appalachian Mountains and worked with the mountain people of Eastern Kentucky, Western West Virginia, I represented everyone. When I was the leprosy in Louisiana during this internship many years ago during school, I wasn't only representing myself, I was representing everyone. When I went into state hospitals and did internships in different state hospitals around this country, and that was like 74, 75, and 76, they were still using leather restraints and such like that. I saw our brothers and sisters getting their teeth pulled out with no anesthesia at all because they were biters and such like that, and they're doing all sorts of things. So I have great empathy for our brothers and sisters that had to go into these state hospitals. Nobody wanted to go into state hospitals. 100 years ago or so, you could put your child at the gate of the state hospital and the state would accept them.
Wow.
But anyhow, that's another story in itself. It was something eugenic, and our culture got that from Nazi Germany, from the death camps, and that's another story too. So that's another story in itself. But anyhow, so it was psychology. It was other psychologists and my angels that helped me wanting to get into forensics. And I remember that when I graduated in 1980, and I took 2 extra years of anatomy and physiology because I wanted to learn more about the body. I wanted to learn more about how it works and why it works, and the chemicals and the lobes and everything in our brains and stuff like, you know. And but anyhow, so I wanted to get in that field, and I'm glad that I did.
And you said that was around the time of 1980, correct? Where you kind of
Yeah. And so 1980 is when I graduated. And prior to that, I wrote a letter to, I don't know if you want me to go into the Bundy thing now. It's up to you guys. You tell me.
Well, yeah, actually, we can go into that if you'd like. So, but I guess before we get into that, like, so it kind of if you could kind of like consolidate like the timeline from when you and your guardian angel had spoken to you, you need to get into a field that could help people. I guess from like the from when you first began your studies, from when you got the chance to interview and talk to Ted Bundy, if you could kind of like consolidate the timeline
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I graduated from high school in 73. In the summer of 73, I went to the University of Florida because I knew that if I didn't go to university right after I graduated from high school, I would never go.
Mm-hmm.
School there. And that's when my angels really insisted, basically, I should go into forensic psychology, and I did. So with the help of psychologists, friends of mine, and that I had reached out to prior to that. And so it became, because it was still like they say, virgin territory. Okay, like I said, that we knew of DNA, but testing was real shabby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people did not get into forensic psychology during that time. It was an open field. It was like a journey. It was like going into a country that's never been discovered before, right? And so I thought that would sound really interesting to me, to get on the bottom, in the bottom ring and work my way up. Okay. And so I took extra courses. I took lots and lots of extra courses that I didn't have to, but I did. The forensic part of forensic is a Greek word that basically just means medical technology brought into the court of law. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Back then in 1980, I don't know if you guys remember Miami Vice. I don't know if you remember that because you guys are young. But anyhow, everything was Miami Vice, and they were like forensic scientists and crap like that. And
well, you were in the perfect place for him, being in Florida.
I was. Oh yeah, did I wear pink? Oh, I looked lovely. But anyhow, so we wore pink slot and khakis and boat shoes and all that crap, right? But we were not police like they are now. We worked under the state, of course, and we worked for the Florida Bureau of Investigation. We also worked with the Attorney General of the state of Florida, okay? But we were not policemen, okay? The forensic part of psychology that I was most fascinated with, I wanted to become the victim. And that's what a criminal profiler is. We become the victim.
Okay.
We go into the families. And for me, being so personable, and I really am personable, that it was very easy for me to go into a family and talk to them about their loved ones. In fact, I know that a lot of the other psychologists would say, here, Robert, here's a case. Can you at least go in and do some social history with the family and such like that? Because of my, just that I feel very comfortable with families, especially being in South Florida, being Spanish myself. There was a lot of like Cubans and, different Latinos and such like that, Puerto Ricans. And then I do know French Creole. And so then we would go into Little Haiti, also that's in that area. And so I do know Creole. And so that helped too. But just meeting with these families, because becoming a criminal profiler is that we find out everything about the victim, where they ate, where they went to school, where they went to church, where they went to work out, what clothes did they buy. We become that person. And by becoming that person, we start narrowing the suspect. It is very seldom that somebody is going to be murdered by a serial killer. It's usually a family member, an acquaintance, an ex-boyfriend, a jilted lover, you name it. Okay. More times than not, we're going to know who the perpetrator is. And so just go ahead.
So whenever you're going in to interview the families of the victims.
Yeah. And go ahead.
And it's okay. And like it when you're starting to do this, like is this when you've already graduated from, I forget, or is this when you're kind of like is still in the program and still on your way to fully like becoming a fully fledged criminal profiler?
That was because during that time there was no one I could shadow.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Because the field was still like relatively like new and upcoming.
It was very, very new. So there was no one to shadow. Okay. And so I had to rely on my internships at different places. Also, that I had my private practice too when I graduated. So that helped. And being a very personal person, so I am who I am, right? That it was easy for me to talk to the family. Did I cry? Of course I did. People, if someone ever said something to me in the office, it goes, Robert, you cry too much. I said, listen, if I did not have empathy for those folks, for our brothers and sisters who have their daughter or wife, mother, whoever murdered, then I'm not a human being. I'm not a
Right.
human at all. And so it was very important for me to show that emotion, to show my solidarity with them also. That was very, very important. Okay. And so I just relied on my own personality and relied on my angels, relied on my education, relied on a lot of books that I read, how to do things this this way in a chronological order. I remember that when I did get the job, because my first job was in Orlando, Florida, before the mouse was there, so that's how old I am. And so I worked as a caseworker, and then I was promoted down in South Beach. And I remember seeing the director, and the director goes, Robert, here's a yellow paper for your tablet, and I want you to write the protocol because there is none.
Wow.
With your education and experience, and that we need for you to write the protocol. And even to this day, there are 2 chapters within one of the books that everyone has to read coming into forensic psychology about the procedure that I did and how they have adopted that also.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's not all about me. I believe that God puts all of us, or Father of the universe, puts us where we need to be at any given time. I don't believe in coincidences at all. Not at all. I believe that we're supposed to be doing what we're doing.
And so when you were in Orlando, what year was this?
This was graduated in 1980 in May. So that was like, and then, so it was like the last part of May of 1980. And I was there till 81. And then from there, these job listings came up within the state. And so that's when I applied for the job and I got it. And the director at the time, very good friend of mine, and God rest his soul, he's passed now. And I remember him saying, Robert, he says, I only have a degree in criminology. You have a master's degree in forensic psychology and also in clinical social work. And he said, I am relying upon you to make this office one of the best criminal profiling offices in the country. That we need to step up, and we need to do this correctly and methodically. And so that made me feel really good,
Definitely.
And so I did what I did. He also knew that I was a psychic medium because I made no bones about it. I told him right off. And he said, Robert, he said, you can use your abilities. And he put me through some things with parapsychology also that I've been spoken about. And I was like 85% on target. No psychic medium is going to be 100%. If they are, there's something wrong. No one is.
Okay.
And anyhow, and so he said, Robert, you can use your gifts and abilities, your talent, but he said, never, never, never document. Never use the word "I got a feeling" or "my angels told me that." So I had to kind of like do specific other things, and anyhow, it was like a curse and a blessing being a criminal profile. When you get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and you go to a dumpster, the police take you there because you're not a policeman, right? And so they take you there, and the scientists are already there, which really they were just in their infancy also, right? And so a lot of the area was contaminated by people not wearing things on their shoes and stuff like that, and masking, and it was just horrible at that time. But going over there and looking into a dumpster, you don't know if you're looking at a baby or a rag doll.
One thing, let me jump in there real quick. One thing that I think the audience should know is that this is probably the most mature show that we'll do. So I think this 100% is the most mature show that we'll do. So I think before, like, we're gonna be on some. Robert in the backstage, him and I were vibing. We were very cool. We all know me and Sweats. We like to have fun. So but the content that we're going to talk about the rest of the afternoon or the rest of the evening, it's going to be pretty heavy. So if you're not, I mean, it's Friday night, it's 9 o'clock. If you're, like, there's many forms of entertainment, and you can come back to this when you're ready for it. But this is going to be mature audiences only. And I think, Robert, you had said anybody under 18 is probably not going to want to listen to what you have to say this evening.
Right, because I don't want someone who may be tipping either way to go out and do the things.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
So basically, you should pull out Santa one more time, because I don't know if Santa would like to hear this mature content.
So,
Santa.
so one thing I want to say is you guys probably noticed that I haven't really said much this evening to start off with, and I think that's more of a respect factor for Robert. I had some really weird things happen to me over this last week, and I think it's Robert's fault.
Santa's fault, not mine.
So let me just give you guys. You guys know how I am. If you watch this show regularly, you guys know how I am. I don't typically believe in paranormal things, but I was telling Robert backstage that this is the first time I've really been able to be invested into a show. I finished up school last week. I finished up some big projects at work. I'm not going to say I'm on easy street, but I have less on my plate than I normally do. Okay. So we're talking to Robert Righi. We're talking Ted Bundy. I'm all in. For the past week, I've been I've been consuming Ted Bundy stuff. I've been Googling Robert Righi. I've been getting questions, and I'm in my garage and I'm working out. I have my back to the TV, and for some reason, something startled me because I had a vision that there was something behind me, and like I went from boxing stance punching a bag to boxing stance ready to fight what I thought was behind me. And in my mind, because again, remember, I've been watching Ted Bundy, I've been investigating Robert Righi, I've been doing all these things, and like something is going on where like where I saw something that wasn't there. And again, I'm intentionally quiet aside from this monologue. I'm intentionally quiet because out of respect for Robert and what he brings to the conversation tonight.
I appreciate that. And at the very end, I'm going to wrap up everything that we've talked about, and also I'm going to be talking to you specifically, Steve, of what has been going on and why it has been going on. Okay, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah. And I text Sweats what I think. This is not scripted. I text Sweats what I think is happening, and he knows. Like Robert is blind to this, to what I think is going on. So, yeah. So we'll just
he's
ask
blind.
you guys too. Yeah.
He's blind till he opens his third eye, and
Yeah,
then it's
right?
all downhill from there.
Yeah.
I'm blinded by science.
Yeah.
So I guess the way we can take it now is
Is anybody
so.
having questions right now at all? Any comments or?
If you have any questions for Robert, whether it be a psychic medium question or a criminal profiler question, go ahead, drop it. Mickey actually asked us, I guess, to show it. Santa, answer me this: why do you drop into one house and then fly away far out instead of making a drop into the next house? Things. I don't know. What does that have to say about that?
Let me see. It's what? No, naughty. You can't say that. This is a show. And you know what Santa said? I'm going to put him in the corner.
Yeah.
You know what Santa said is it's none of their business.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyhow, but Santa's here to help too. Okay, you know, it's just the fact it is the spirit of Christmas. Okay, and there's a lot of crap going on in this now. A lot of people are hurt. A lot of people, the damn COVID thing and everything, and the school shootings and horrible weather and stuff like that. And so we need the spirit of Santa Claus, just not to do it. Okay.
Definitely, I agree.
Oh, look at that! Are you sweating already?
I am. I don't know. Like something's. I don't know why we keep getting paranormal people on here, but it just makes me feel. I just get uncomfortable, and I'm very hot right now.
But your armpits are wet, so maybe you should take, whatever.
Yeah.
Let me get some shout outs going though, because something I didn't do. Let's see. Shout out to Simple Jack. What's going on, Simple Jack? You bad mother. Shout out to Lord Nemesis. Shout out to Mickey. And shout out to Fatuma. She said, hey guys, what's going on? Periana. Anyway. So I guess so all right. So your guardian angel tells you should do something that can help people and to use your spiritual gifts. Okay. So you get into the criminal profiling. You graduate in 1980, and from 1980 on, you get your experience. You see some.
But for 30 years, I was a criminal profiler for 30 years.
For 30 years, okay. And then eventually, at some point, you come across this opportunity to where you cross paths with a very an infamous figure in America's history. What's his full name? Theodore
Robert Caldwell, aka Ted Bundy.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So how did this opportunity
knock on the door?
How did exactly.
Okay. It was from my angels, my spirits, my two angels. One of them is a little baby called Angelina. That's another story in itself. Okay. And Robert Archangel, because I'm adopted. My biological name before I was adopted was Raphael.
Oh,
and
okay.
Very, very. He's been very, very close to me. And all at once I was just meditating, and it just came to me. Ted Bundy, who is only 50 miles north of Gainesville in the state penitentiary there. And in my mind and my heart, I heard, write to him. Right. And so I wrote to him, and I wrote to his lawyer. Also wrote to the warden of the prison, asking if I could, and possibly through other psychologists, interview him. And 2 weeks later, to my surprise, really, but my angels have never steered me wrong. They would have never said, "Go ahead and do it," if it wasn't going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I received a letter from Ted Bundy, and I still have that letter today. It's in Illinois. And
wow, that'd be cool to see it.
see it. And what I will do when I get home, I'm leaving this Sunday, I will send you a picture of it if you want me to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
And but anyhow, he said yes. Got a letter from his lawyer. He said yes, and also from the state warden, and they gave permission off.
Okay.
And it's not all the time that they would give permission for anyone to come and visit Ted.
Right.
Right. And Ted was not making a dime off of this. He just they're in research. And but, so I was happily surprised. But again, I could have relied on my angels would have never said that to me if it wasn't going to happen, right?
Right.
And so it did. And 2 weeks later, we went to see him. It was myself and 4 other psychologists. 3 of them were women. The other was a male. And the women.
And what year was this, by the way? I don't mean to cut you off.
I'm sorry?
What year was this?
This was 1980.
So
okay.
I think this was 2 years before. Like he was sentenced to death row when he was speaking to you, correct?
Yeah.
And he was put to death 2 years later, I think, right?
He was put to death in 1989.
Okay, 9 years later. Okay.
Years later, and that's the whole story too in itself that we'll get to.
Okay.
And but anyhow, and so we wanted. And so the director said, "Who do you want to go with you?" They're allowing yourself and 4 other psychologists to go, and I said I want 3 women there, very mature women, who would not be intimidated by him. I wanted the women to dress very provocatively. One of them she was real busty, and she wore a very, very tight sweater, and that's what I wanted to entice him to react to that. Okay.
Was that a strategic plan for wanting to have more women than men, or?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And the other one was dressed in a very appropriate work suit, attire, and stuff like that. And the other one was in gym clothes, sweatshirt, shorts. I mean, you know what I mean. And so there were 3 different types of clothing that these ladies were wearing. And myself and the other psychologists, we were wearing khakis, and I was wearing a pink, shirt, pastel shirt. He was wearing a blue one, and the time was set and the day was set. And
hey, Robert, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Could you speak into the microphone a little bit more?
Oh,
It's kind of a little staticky.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yep.
Okay. And so prior to that, it was meeting with them daily. A lot of them were not forensic psychologists. Some of them were getting into the field of abnormal psychology. Others were getting child psychology, animal psychology also. And so there were different disciplines within psychology. And so we all came with this interview with our own agenda, let's say. Okay. My part being, I wanted to be the dark side, even the darker side, and I wanted to know what led him to murder these women. Was it possession? Was it something that he was doing prior to that and such? Okay. And so we had a set of questions, but let me tell you, on the topic that we were told we could not bring any reporters with us. We couldn't write anything down, nothing at all. And a lot of them wanted to bring reporters, and even after Ted said no and the attorney said no, a lot of them wanted to, and I said, no, we don't need that. You know what I mean? We just come in, they have stipulations, just go for it. We have 90 minutes to talk with them. It was a Saturday afternoon, and on the way there, everybody was eerily quiet except for me. I couldn't keep my mouth. I wanted the women and the other male psychologists to be very comfortable, but they were nervous. I was very calm, like I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to that, I believe in interior prayer. I believe in meditation. I believe to center ourselves because what I was going to experience has really taken my life down, years later. And so, bless you. And so
Okay.
with interior prayer, then I armored myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we get there. The drive's not that far, it's only 50 miles. And so we get there and we have a letter from the state and such like that. They knew that we were coming. So we were walking on this corridor. We were in one segregated area of prison. And we were frisked. There was a matron or female, correction officer with their female women, maybe the female psychologist, and they were kind of frisked, and we were frisked and stuff like that. We had nothing on us whatsoever. And so then we were taken to this room, and 20 minutes later, and I felt the air begin to change. I began the air was just getting heavy. The other psychologists were getting kind of antsy. I said, listen, all of you have to get your emotions reined in.
Right.
Not show any being scared or frightened, nothing like that.
Because it could be used against them.
Well, because he loves that crap, right?
One thing, like I had said before, I've done a lot of like watching documentaries and videos and preparation, and to validate that is when he was being tried, and this is I am not glorifying anything that Ted Bundy did. I am just giving facts. I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying. Okay, but one of the things that he did while he was on trial was he proposed to a woman during the trial. That woman married him and had his baby.
Yeah.
That is like, just think about that for a second. While on trial for his life for killing other women, he sent something from a woman who was on the stand testifying against him or something. And then they started dating while he was in jail, got married, and she had his baby. That's the type of person that Robert was work like. And so what he's saying is just it's insane. It's
Well,
crazy.
Mickey also says that yeah, I heard before that some women found Ted Bundy to be charming. What's your take on that? What can you say about his supposed charm
Oh my,
or his appeal to I guess women?
he and to gay guys.
Okay.
he, he was very charming. He was. He he was he was charming. He was so narcissistic that took away some of his charm. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. When he walked, and one thing I told the female psychologist especially, I said, if you have to, turn your back to him and talk to him.
Right.
Okay. Because he is so freaking primal that he will read your body language. He isn't stupid. He's very primal. So you know what I mean? So he goes on that level, very animalistic. Okay. And if he senses you're scared, because when we are scared and fearful, we do emit a, a chemical that animals know. Okay. And I said, if you have to turn around, turn around. Okay. But never show any emotion. None. Just flat affect, no emotion. It was hard for the females, and it was also hard for the other psychologists. I must also say that I got pissed off at him, and I did tell him to. I can't use the word probably, but anyhow, I told him that I didn't appreciate his effing attitude towards the women.
One of the questions, Robert, I don't know if my question applies to you, but given his charisma, was there everlasting psychological effects from your conversation with him? For you, I don't think that there was, but for your colleagues that were with you, anything that you can tell us about that?
Yes, two of the women, they are no longer in the field. They're no longer in the field at all whatsoever. And I see that.
Oh, sorry. I thought it'd be to kind of like see, but I took it off the screen. I took it off the screen.
But anyhow, it just, I don't want people, he wants it. He was narcissistic in this lifetime and physical, okay? And on the other side, he loves what you just did because it shows him. You know what I mean?
He needs to be seen.
Yeah. And so if maybe not, I mean, it's up to you. It's your show, but you can do what you want to
No,
do.
that's fine. That's fine.
So wait a second. Hold on, real quick, Robert. Let me ask you something, because
Sure.
I know I asked you. I have a whole bunch of questions for you, and now I think this is a good time to drop in the next one.
Sure.
What is something about Ted that you don't think the documentaries or stories highlight or focus on enough? One of the things you just said is about how narcissistic he is and how on this side he would love the fanfare. I don't want to say
Right.
fanfare. I don't think it's fanfare. The publicity that he gets from what he did. But then
Right.
also on the other side, you're saying on the other side, he loves seeing that people are, talking about him and he's still relevant. So what are some things that you don't think that they focus on enough?
They do not focus on how and what he got into.
Okay.
That has only one time did Bundy ever allude to the dark side.
And what did he get into?
Well, let me go into.
Sure. Okay.
And so we go into the room, right? Now, let's go to the backstory of Ted Bundy. His mother, because this, what I'm going to say next, led to his falling into the abyss. It's just layer and layer of betrayal and lies. Okay? He was born in Vermont, and he was born in a shelter for women who were pregnant and not married. When he was born, his birth certificate was stamped bastard. There was no father listed.
Yep.
The mother, her name is Eleanor Louise Caldwell. Bundy got his name by his stepfather. Okay, that didn't come till later on, until they moved when they moved to Seattle area. Okay, anyhow, so Ted's birth certificate. It was, and during that time in the late 40s, he was born in the late 40s. Is that the fact that, does your neck hurt?
Well, it's probably just from sitting, but that's not.
Listen.
There's
I'm
something
glad
going
that.
on.
Listen.
A lot of times what happens is that people who are talking with me, their necks will become very loose. A lot of times they will get headaches, and that it happens. I'm sorry. Go.
I'm glad that it's happening to him and not me. Okay? Because all the time that we have people come on here, something always happens to me, and I'm getting the bad dreams and the things in the garage with me. Finally, something's happening to Sweats, and I wish you well because you're my cousin and I love you. But I listen. If I don't want to get my ass kicked tonight. I just don't.
No, I think I'm good. I should be fine. But continue as we were talking about.
And anyhow, so he gets married. I mean, he gets, he's born. They live in Vermont for a while. Well, Eleanor Louise decides that they're going to move to Philadelphia. They move to Philadelphia, where his grandparents adopt him, which makes no sense whatsoever. Okay. And again, these lies begin to mount up. While they were in Philadelphia, he began to act out just all sorts of bizarre things, pissing in public, pissing in schoolrooms, even masturbating or trying to when he was in second and third grade, all sorts of things, right? He began to steal. He began to do a lot of things, right? He was taken to psychologists and psychiatrists then, and he was put on medication, of course, and nothing helped. So Louise decides that they should move to the Pacific Northwest. Okay, is that a question for me?
Yes.
Go ahead. Can you read it for me?
Yeah, I got it. Robert. So Mr. Michaela says, Robert, was there any indication on or evidence that Ted did any types of drugs or psychedelics? And then Sweats, the only reason I jumped in on that is because you were muted.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay. Yes. And when we asked him about that, about any drug use, and that will go into what he got into. So I will answer that question. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So they moved to the Pacific Northwest. Again. Okay. Again, he starts acting out and the behavior is even stranger. He comes from a very strict Methodist upbringing. And so, of course, they go to church on Wednesday and Sunday nights and Bible school and camp and all this stuff, right? Well, he started to openly masturbate at church on the choir gowns of the women. And that is an indication to psychiatrists and psychologists it has to do with control. That's all that has to do with, it has to do with control. His cousins come from the east to visit him. That's when he slips even further into the abyss. Because prior to that, he asked who his father was, and she would never say anything. Nothing at all. His cousins come to the Pacific Northwest, and they're older than he is. And so the cousins start telling him, do you know who your mother is? Do you know who she is? And Ted goes, yeah, she's my mom. And his cousins tell him, your mother is also your sister.
How does Robert? How does that happen? Robert, how does that happen? How does that happen? How does a mother become a sister?
Louise was his sister from the get-go.
Whoa.
Does that make sense to you?
Wow.
Whoa.
Really...
Does that make sense to you? No?
Wow.
So from multiple from all these things are kind of like seeking, as you put it seeking him into the abyss. All these on his upbringing.
Right. Okay. So his cousins tell him that yes, Louise is his mother, but she is also, Ted, that is your sister. Yeah. So he goes to her. Oh, and also the cousins say to him, do you know who your father is? Bundy never knew his father. He said, two of his cousins told him, we think it's Grandpa.
Oof.
That's weird. Who are these people? Wow, God.
Because think about it. Why did he, when they went to Philadelphia, why did his grandparents adopt him? Think about that. You know what I mean? Okay. So anyhow, so all these lies, layered and layered and layered, okay? He finds out he's a bastard. He doesn't know who his father is. He goes out to the Pacific Northwest, to Seattle area. He finds out that his sister is his mother. You know what I mean? Okay. He knew that Louise was his mother, yes, but had no idea that they were brother and sister. Okay.
Oof.
Okay, so from that point,
it just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. From that point, how does that affect the decisions that he makes after he finds out these truths about his origins?
Okay, during this time, he was like 11, 12, 13 years old, okay? It just threw him into the abyss even more. I use that word quite often because that's the only word I can think of, abyss, right? So he goes further and further down. He gets more depressed and such like that. And his mother understands that, or his sister, whatever you want to call Louise, his mother, sister, mother, whatever. Anyhow, and Dad, he has a problem with that. He has a problem. Do I call her mom or do I call her sis? So he was dealing with that. And then he was telling us, how could I go to school and tell everybody, yeah, that's my mom, but it's also my sister, you know and so a lot of things were going on. He was taken to a psychiatrist, more medication. Now I'm going to tell you that Bundy, his IQ was 136.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's in the gifted area, right? And so he's real smart, and he even becomes more of a manipulator. He steals and such like that. His grades are really, really well, really, really good. And all at once he begins to do drugs with his friend. Steve, that's where the acid comes from. That's where the drug use comes in at, because when he started dropping acid, as we said back in the 60s, that he would drop acid while he and his friends would be using the Ouija board.
Oh, that's a deadly combo right there.
No, and I know that there's a lot of my brothers and sisters, practitioners of the use of the Ouija board, right? I'm not saying that all people who use Ouija boards are going to end up being serial killers. I'm not saying that at all. But for Ted Bundy, it was like a perfect storm. Here he was, drunk and high, using the board, and he's telling us this because I asked him. The other psychologists were asking other questions. My thing was I needed to know what he was alluding to when it came to talking about the dark side. That's what I wanted to interview him about.
I guess the thing, my unscripted question, and I want to have a conversation with you about this, is I've seen a good amount of the footage that says where he's saying that the jury was wrong and he didn't do it, and he legitimately believes that he did not do it. He like, you can hear it in his voice, you can see it in his face, his body language, all of that. Did you feel like there was two Teds? The one that was a normal person, the intelligent one who was a law school student who had all the promise of the world of the future, and then there was the one that was a serial killer, and that there was a switch in his mind that he would switch from back and forth, or was he just innate? That's who he was. He was just a manipulator.
That's who he was.
Okay.
Who he was. I just going back briefly, I asked him about going to school. He wanted to become a psychologist. And he goes, Robert, you're a forensic psychologist. And he said, I wanted to go to become a psychologist because I wanted to learn how to manipulate people even better.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Another thing that I thought
you cannot separate. No one can separate what he did and why he did it. You know what I mean? They're just one. Okay. Because if we begin to separate, then you can say, well, it's that side. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he knew what he was doing. When he was high and drunk with his friends, playing with the Ouija board, dropping acid, he would also get animals and begin to dissect them on the board.
Oh my God.
He was very meticulous about telling us that. And again, he's a great manipulator. But if you let this sink in, even hours after the show, it all comes in full circle. It really, really, And so he began to dissect these animals. His friends got scared, so they left him. So he really was a loner. He really was, you know. And I think that he did that. I think that's a manipulation also, that he wanted to be left alone.
Where did his friends come from? Likely, was it from? Because around this time that he's doing these things, is he like in like high school, or is he in college, or?
It started, a lot of it started in high school.
Okay.
Okay, started in high school. It continued on, but he knew he was good looking. He knew that he could charm anyone, right? And he did it well. He knew enough about psychology that he could manipulate. Okay, and he took enough courses to understand body language and such like that. And I remember when he was looking at me, his eyes were dark; they were dead. Now, the other psychologists did not see that, but I did. When Ted and I began to converse, he would start sweating terribly. But the other psychologists never saw that. He would stick his tongue and wag his tongue at the female psychologist. And one time he said, you know what? I could get a knife and I would cut your sweater off of you. And she was a real busty, you know, what I said earlier. And she goes, yeah. And you know what I want to do to you? And she said, no, you tell me, you know. And anyhow, I will cut that sweater off of you. I will cut your bra off of you. I will cut your nipples and I will eat them.
You know what? It's actually like that you say that, because I think in one of the actual like attempted murders that I think I read about, was that he had actually like had bitten one of the nipples off one of the females that he was trying to kill. I think she survived, but she was in really bad shape. But
Yeah.
that was another thing that I heard about, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I guess it's just one of the main things that for his sick fantasies, then one of his go-to methods, I guess, was doing that. Wow, that's
And
crazy.
he did cannibalize some of his victims while they were still alive. He also decapitated 12 the women. He
Did
said they were trophies.
did he tell you? Did he ever tell you in specific detail about the cannibalism?
Yes, and that was interesting because when he was saying that to that female psychologist about the eating of nipples and such, and 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 then he began to talk about his cannibalism, of where he would cut different parts of a female's genitalia,
Oh wow.
and he would eat that. He would eat that right in front of him. He wanted to see the woman's face. He got off on that terror. Okay, he would slowly begin to cut and to peel back the skin,
Wow.
especially the first layer, because as you know, the first layer of skin, because we have three different types of layers of skin, right? Okay, so the first one, when you first tear the first layer off, it is the most sensitive right underneath it, right? It's very sensitive. And he knew that. And I must also tell, or maybe you folks can surmise who his mentor was.
Um,
Remember,
like
he dissected, he peeled skin, he disemboweled women also, he decapitated women.
Jack the Ripper?
No, American person.
Ed Gein.
That's right.
Okay, Ed Gein then. Yeah, the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw horror films. Yeah.
That's very true. And
Wow.
so because I asked him who his mentor was, and he said Ed Gein, and he said he had read a lot about him. Okay. But just the way he talked to me, he hated me. he did not want to talk to me. I remember him saying, Robert, I know who you are and I know what you do.
And what did he mean by that?
Because of him being so primal, animalistic, you know what I mean? He knew of he felt my gifts, my abilities and such like that, because he acted totally different with me. But the weird thing about it is that the other psychologists did not notice that.
Really?
Yeah.
I asked this question as I hope it
Right.
comes off as well intentioned as I mean it. Do you consider that a compliment? Because in everything that I've seen of him, he's put together. He is put together. He knows what he's doing. He's charismatic. He's in control. And my read on him is that when you figure out who he is, that's when he becomes emotional. So like when the jurors were sentencing him, how he turned his back to them and then he showed emotion, or
But that emotion was bullshit.
Okay.
Any type of emotion that he showed was bullshit.
Okay.
It was cameras. People should not fall for that. I'm not saying that you did, Steve, but I'm just saying that was total manipulation.
Well, I did fall for it, and that's fine. I'm not. I'm here to be the. I'm here to be educated about his actions and whatnot. So I take no issue with that.
And so I'm sorry if I'm coming too hard on you, but it's just the fact.
No, it's fine.
Just the fact that that's what he wanted. Oh, poor Ted. And you know what that son of a bitch said? He goes, he said this to one of the female psychologists. He said, you know that I've been raped 4 times in here.
When he was in prison?
Yeah.
Really?
And she said, you know how many women you raped? With your finger? With your fist?
Wow.
With a knife? With your shoe? Don't tell me about how you were raped. Are you alive today? And so that kind of like dialogue, I had to step in because it was getting, you know what I mean? It was getting kind of dicey.
Yeah.
But again, he was shackled. There's no way he could have got to us anyway. But
and I think I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that's one thing that when you watch documentaries, when you watch certain clips, it appears like I think I'm somewhat I think I'm somewhat perceptive. I think that I can figure these things out, and that was my read. So unless I brought that up, like it makes complete sense that yes, he used that as a tool and a mechanism for people to feel sorry for him, and it helped it helped us go further in the conversation. So I'm happy that we're having that discussion.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what, guys? I've spoken about Ted before, but let me tell you that you two have asked some very, very interesting questions.
Well, Robert, that goes without saying. That's what we do here on the Sweats and Steve show, okay? That's what we do on the Sweats and Steve show. Yeah, let's get started here.
Shake it, Sarah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because others don't go into the background. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Okay. And so it has to do with the drugs that he used. It has to do with being betrayed. It has to do with the lies that his mother perpetrated upon him. All the women, except the 12-year-old girl, looked like his mother. They all looked like his mother. All of them did.
Really?
Yes.
And what was the general look of his mother? Was it like dark hair, like
slender, kind of auburn hair at times and such like that? But a lot of them had a very slight build, and that's what his mother had, a very slight build. Okay. Talk about Ted Bundy's daughter. Her name is Rose. Rose. She has never done any interview as far as I know, and as far as I read. She's never done an interview. She could make millions of dollars. You know what I mean? But she lives a very quiet life. But her first.
I actually had a question that someone else had posted in the comments section. I don't know if you ever saw the most recent Ted Bundy biopic on Netflix or something, where it was Zac Efron who was portraying Ted Bundy. Did you ever watch that?
No, I don't watch those types of things. I don't.
Yeah. Does it trigger you?
What it does, it is just, is it theatric or is it reality? So you have to take the theatrical part out of the film. And is a film to make us feel sorry for him, or is it to make us understand how sick he really was? Is a film Does the film talk about the women that he murdered? Did they talk about the families of these women? And they usually don't. They usually focus on the gore. You know what I mean? Gore sells, you know. And a lot of people don't understand the abnormal psychology about him, about about things that happened to him early on in life. It was just layer after layer after layer after layer after layer. Okay. He just got so deep into that. His narcissism. His narcissism kicked in and said to him, you know what? Your mother screwed you over so badly, and you're in so much pain. Why don't you do something about it? So one thing, well, so what is the narcissism telling me? Is the narcissism telling me I should kill someone? And then narcissism will say, you kill a female the first time, it will become easier and easier. And it did for me. It really, really did. Okay. And again, all people who need to be deployed are not going to end up being serial killers. You know what I mean? But he was the perfect storm. He was truly the perfect storm. Uh, and his whole life started terribly as a child. Okay. And during those formative years, he didn't have the stability that he needed. Not at all. His mother, actually his sister, also could have said, okay, Ted, listen, I don't know who your father is or whatever. You want to talk about that. And be honest with him. Okay. It was her lies. That's, I can't blame her. But it's just the fact that it was lying to him over and over and over. And then his cousins come to Seattle and just load all this stuff on him. You know what I mean? And so narcissism says, like I said, it's just not him. Any narcissistic person like the BTK killer in Wichita, okay? It told him, yes, kill someone and it gets easier. But narcissism will kick you in the ass too, and it will get you caught. And the BTK killer.
Definitely. If I may, real quick, let me give a few more shout outs to people I haven't shouted out yet. Shout out to Jesus, the bad mother Jesus Lopez. What's going on, Jesus? Let's see here. Saw Cass's comment here. What's going on, Cass? You bad mother. Shout out to Cass. Who else? Who else? Who else? Shout out to. Don't forget to like and share, everybody, if you could. This has been a great show so far. Really interesting stuff. Really interesting stuff to delve into. But don't forget to like and share. Shout out to Sharon Chambers. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Shout out to Lisa Marie. She says, hello, Sweat Steve and Roberts.
Oh, hi, Lisa. Hi, honey.
Says, look at all the stars. Well, thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate it. Okay, yeah.
Like it's a Santa dance. Lisa, you got a Santa dance.
Yeah, there you go, Lisa. And yeah.
But anyhow, I'm go ahead, Sweat. Is there some other comments?
Mickey says, I do feel bad for him as a child having such instability and confusion. Not as an adolescent and adult, though. He could have chose a morally stronger path, of course. What do you think about that, Robert?
Did he have a choice?
Did he?
Well, Robert, I guess my only contention to that is that he had options. He just chose the wrong one. I mean,
we all have free will,
right.
But we're talking about a person. I'm not just okay.
Sure.
But we're talking about a person who's mentally ill.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that has a lot to do with it. Also, it has when there is no trust, and he had trust issues, especially with women, and he had abandonment issues. Okay. And when you get that, and when you experience that as a small child, especially a male, when women start lying to you and whatever, we begin to build this wall around us. Okay. We don't want women into our lives because we can't trust them. And also, the psychotic mind will say, you know what? You're in so much pain because of these women. And now the women have to feel the pain that I'm having, right? And so the more he killed, thinking that he was satisfied that part, if that makes sense to you, right? That he wanted the women to feel just as frickin' bad as he felt and more. No, that never happened. That's why serial killers kill more and more and more and more and more, is just the fact that they want that pain released.
So I have a question, and I'm not sure as to the specifics, but from the movie that I saw, and I'm pretty sure because he did have he had a steady girlfriend, I think
He
and
did. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, so that, like, from your perspective, thinking about things like psychologically, like he's doing these heinous acts on women, and at the same time he has this girlfriend that I believe also had a daughter as well, that was kind of like that he kind of like that he was very fond of, I guess.
He
um
was more than fond of her.
oh, really?
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Um, if I pick up on what you're alluding to, I don't know that that's how far we should go.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that's probably one of the heavier topics that I don't know.
Right. What is documented that he was playing hide and seek with the little girl. The mother came. Now, this is documented in a police report. It is documented that he was playing hide and seek with the little girl. The mother came in. Ted was under a blanket in the front room. When she whipped off the blanket, the little girl was not with him. Okay. But he had an erection. And I'll just leave it at that. That is factual.
But taking aside from that point, let's just say the relationship that he had with this woman, like the adult, like how, like what is your thoughts, like how, what for what reason was he in this relationship with this woman? And
Just like all serial killers, just like the BTK from Kansas, right? From Wichita, right? Here he was, a Lutheran elder in the church. He had a family that he loved. He was, you know what I mean? He was very well loved in the community, right? Okay, so Ted knew that he would not be on the radar per se if he had a girlfriend, if they were seen out in public, right? So that was his what's the word I want to say? That was his shield, that was his
cover.
Thank you.
So you think it was merely for it was manipulative at the core of it, and he was just using it as a cover.
Right. And she ends up turning him in.
Oh, okay.
She does. Now, also, I asked him about the Green River serial killer. That was also in Seattle, Pacific Northwest at that time, right? He said, just so blatantly, just came out like it was nothing. He said, I had written the police several letters and how they were going to catch him. And I said, why would you do that? And he goes, Robert, sometimes he would call me a fag. I mean, and just other things too, but he hated me. But he was more engaged with me than he was the other male psychologist the female psychologist, I mean, he could have talked to them till the cows come home. And there's more on how they were affected by what he had told them. And and I said, okay, well, I can understand that you said to the police because you did the same thing he was doing. He goes, Robert, the reason why I turned him in is because he was killing the good stock. He was getting all the good stock. That's what he considered women. He considered them stock.
Oh, wow.
They were competitors. That's all they were.
So Robert, something that's been on my mind since we've had this conversation going, and this is a question more about you than it is Ted. I want to take a break from Ted for a second. So, a question that I have is when Sweats pulled up that picture of Ted and put it on, you blocked it with your hand.
Good.
And I've just been thinking about why. Why would you care to share like why you don't? It seemed to me like you didn't want to see him.
Right. Right.
You want to go into that?
I did. Yes. I did not want to validate his lies and his bullshit.
Okay.
And it's okay, Sweats, that you did that because people can see his picture anywhere. Okay. But for me personally, I didn't want to see that because everything he did, the way he colored his hair, the way he shaved his mustache, his beard, and all sorts of things, right? It was all manipulation. It was all manipulation. It really was. And I don't have to see him in any pictures because I have him in this picture up here in my mind.
Can we start talking about the mind picture that you see? Because I know that you spoke about him in the afterlife.
Right. And so I will, like tonight. This always happens. I cover myself and my angels help me. But a lot of times I allow that to happen because I want that interaction with him because he can do whatever and I can say whatever to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows I'm not here to glorify what the SOB done. And many, many times, my friends, that I say quite often this because it's not all about him. It's about the women that he murdered. It's about the sisters murdered. It's about daughters of people and granddaughters and cousins of people that he murdered. And he didn't give two shits for these people. And when he killed this 12-year-old girl.
And I think just taking a break and a step back for a second, Robert, Sweats, that's why when we were texting back and forth earlier and I said, I think this show should be kind of cautious of how heavy it can be because like when I was watching some of these things, you see what happens and families get destroyed. People don't leave their houses. Like lives are legitimately ruined over someone's narcissism, over someone's psychology, over someone's problems. And like I sat back this afternoon and I said, I don't think that this should be a traditional Sweats and Steve show. I think we should be a little bit more thoughtful and deliberate with what we're doing. And
because it is very deep.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and so I appreciate. And I know that during your pre-Thanksgiving show, which I love, especially guys who are eating pumpkin pie, I loved that. I thought that was great. And something about a gorilla. Is it gorilla vanilla or something?
Gorilla, yeah.
Yeah. Where is he tonight?
I don't know. You want me to get him on?
That would be great. Except you folks. But anyhow, I do this.
Can I ask you something? Why do you bring up Vanilla Gorilla?
I don't know. I just had this something about him that I thought the guys that were going to be at Thanksgiving, I thought they were going to be on also.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not to take away from you, but I mean, if you'd like to have them on, I mean, we could try to get them on. Steve, should I post a link in the chat?
Well, I think Robert, when Robert's done with
let's do that
first. Once we're ready to kind of turn it over,
yeah, that's fine. But anyhow, and so just talking to him, and I did not want to see that picture. I saw that picture, and I see him in my mind. I see him bald-headed, and that is going to be coming up very soon of how I saw him bald-headed. Okay, but it's just a fact that he was so matter of fact in what he did. And like I was telling Sweats earlier, that there is a connection of one of the young girls that he murdered. Heinous. I mean, they were all heinous. Some of them worse than others. The way he decapitated, and he went into detail with me, with all of us psychologists, of how he slowly. And again, I'm not justifying what he did, but our listeners need to know of how evil this bastard is. Really, they do. It. He was, to me personally, he was the devil incarnate.
Really?
I really believe that. He would talk about getting a butcher knife. And one time he was telling us, and it's factual. And I asked for the police report regarding this. And his car broke down, but that was all manipulation too. And so a young girl stopped, and the hood was up and all this stuff, and he was wearing a cast. Oops. A cast on his arm. Anyhow, within that cast was a butcher knife. So he tells this young girl, and back then, friend, paranormal fields, that during that time of his his reign of terror, as well as other serial killers during that time too, it's just the fact that people were hitchhiking all the time. It was a common thing to do in the 60s and in the 70s. You hitchhiked. Nobody thought of it. You know what I mean? Also, there wasn't this world news that we knew what was going on in Seattle in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? It took hours or days, right? So anyhow, so young girls would hitchhike, young guys would hitchhike and everything. And that's one thing Ted never picked up a couple. It was just single women by themselves, just single women. And this young girl, he picks up, or he is driving, his car breaks down and all that stuff. She gives him a ride to this cabin, this shed that he uses many times. And he takes her in there. He says he needs help because of this cast, right? That he needs help carrying some tools out to the car. So she agrees. He hits her in her face with his cast, and she falls to the floor, blood everywhere. She's crying. She's terrified. He begins to tear off the cast in front of her. And slowly, she sees this knife. And before you know it, he's slowly cutting her lips off.
Ah, that's terrible.
He wants to see the terror in their face. That's what he gets off on. He does.
So that's why he does all of these like horrific things, just to see what the reaction is.
Yes, and also that he gets an erection. It has a sexual thing too with him.
Yeah, he has the sexual gratification of it too. Wow.
But so here she is. He's beginning to slowly peel her skin back. She's screaming. He's now undressed her completely. He doesn't kill any of these women fast. He does it methodically, as his mother lied to him methodically. Now, I'm not justifying what he's doing at all, but I just want to give. I want the.
You're correlating. You're making a correlation. You're making a correlation. You're not justifying. You're just making the correlation. I get it.
Okay, thank you. Because I want people to understand. I want people to understand about the mind. I want people to understand what lies and betrayal can do to a very small child. I'm not saying all kids who are lied to are going to become serial killers. I'm not saying that at all. But for Ted Bundy, it was a perfect storm. He was lied to, manipulated, all that crap in the very beginning, right? He got into the Ouija board. He was calling demons. He was dropping acid. He was drunk, all sorts of things, right? And he was just the perfect person. But the way he killed these women with no respect, could you imagine that you hear the screams of someone their skin is being peeled away? and he just continues. He eats some of the skin in front of them. He takes off. The bodies are nude. The women are naked, and what he does to them.
And and and
It's
so
Go ahead. I'm
uh
sorry. I'm sorry.
uh no, it's okay. It's I think my computer's lagging a little bit. But like you have, and while you're interviewing him and you're talking to him, asking these questions, all these things are in the back of your head, right? And just you could just, but all these horrific acts you can put onto like him, and you could just like, so that's where you say like he's the devil incarnate. You could like, it was a super like surreal experience, like being able to see the man that's done all these things in front of you.
He's not a man. He's worse than an animal. He is not a man.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a man.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a man. No man would ever treat a woman like that. Never. I don't give a shit how painful his upbringing was. Okay? No
Mm-hmm.
woman should be ever desecrated like that and and totally disrespected. Because the way I grew up with my Italian father and my Spanish mother is that you respect all women. My father said, I don't care if a woman slaps you in the face, you leave, but you can't ever lay your hands on a woman. And so I was raised. So I was
Mm-hmm.
raised, you know, and but hearing Bundy and the way he did things, but most people want to hear that gore. I know one time I did a podcast, is that's all they wanted to hear, and so I cut the podcast off. I stopped.
Oh, really?
Yeah, how they wanted to do that, and but people must understand. And the women, and there was 12 women that he decapitated. And during this decapitation, because it's hard, it is difficult at best to decapitate anyone. It's not easy at all. It's not. And the way he did it, slowly, methodically, he wanted the women to be in total terror, and they were. And some of the women that had died in the very beginning, some of those spirits have come to me a long time ago, and I asked them, I said, did you ever want to help the women that he was murdering? And they said they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't. But what they did was they were there to take their sister to heaven with them.
I don't get emotional on this show very often. But I think when you had said that there was nothing they can do to help, I felt a tremendous amount of sadness come over me because of the legitimacy and the depth into which you tell this story and the authenticity that you have behind it. I'm as captivated as the audience right now, because I'm listening to you and I can see it on your face. I can see you wearing the emotion. I can hear it in your voice, and there's a certain amount of authenticity behind what you're saying that is pretty eye opening right now. It's pretty humbling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, like I said, this is the last time I will be talking about him publicly. Publicly, that's it. This is the last time I am done talking about him. I mean, not tonight, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just a fact. This is it, because
Mm-hmm.
I am more than just an interview that interviewed Ted Bundy. I am more than that. I mean, having Ted Bundy and that I was 5 feet away from him. Okay, yeah, that did change my life. I think I think well, I know that by interviewing him, I became a better criminal profiler. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go out and even help these families even more. And so by meeting him. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that I was supposed to meet him. Now, the other psychologists, there were three female psychologists. Two of them are no longer psychologists. Not at all. They were so affected, adversely, in a way adversely, to what he said to them. And I'm not going to go into detail because it's not necessary. But it's just the fact that both of these women now are Protestant ministers, and they have different places around the country, home for battered women and children. Also, that one of them her ministry also has to do with women being trafficked, and stuff like that. Okay, and so they meeting Ted Bundy really changed their lives. I know that with the other male psychologist, he had a difficult time afterwards, and he got out of the field for a while. But all of us still stay friends. They will listen. They will listen to this podcast or some of the podcasts. They'll never comment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that they call me, and later on we Zoom and we talk about it. But they never want to talk about it. And I tell them that I want the public to know about the dark side of him. Yes, he was dark, but I'm talking about the Ouija board. I'm talking about summoning devil. You know what I mean? All the negativity upon him.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna back out the studio because there's a little bit of a lag between.
What did you say earlier, Robert? What did you say when Sweats wasn't around?
I told Steve, I said, don't be surprised if Sting, but don't leave, Steve. I mean,
I won't. Yeah,
I won't. It's Bundy, so don't leave. Don't give that son of a bitch.
Well, no. I'm gonna come right back in. I'm gonna come right back in, but there's a lag between what you're saying and the lip sync is off. But
Okay.
No, Steve, if you got another question,
yeah, I got another question.
I'll be right back.
Yep. So I think as we start to wind down the Ted Bundy portion of this evening's show, one of the questions that I have for you is to say today's society has an infatuation with serial killers. After spending time with Ted, why do you think that is?
People are fascinated with serial killers or mass killers. Look at what's happening in this country. Kids are going into school killing kids, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. People want to know about the gore of it. A lot of times they don't want to know about the backstory, right? But in our culture, it always has been that way. You know, it started with the gladiators. People went to the Colosseum to see people being eat up and all that stuff, right? Okay. It's kind of like the animalistic part of us that people want to hear about these things. They are intrigued by it. They are fascinated by it. Some of them become very obsessed about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, like I said, I have done the podcast talking about him, and after this, it's done. So I hope that answers your question, Steve.
It does, yeah.
I think I'm back now.
Yeah, you are.
Real quick shout out to Checkpoint as well, and shout out to Carlos.
But the Vanilla Gorilla is here, Robert.
That's the Vanilla
Gorilla.
Where's he at?
I think he's gonna come in here in a minute. I texted him a minute ago.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably.
Let me tell you one last. I'm sorry. Let me tell you one last thing, or a couple last things.
Sure.
And then we move on, okay? And if you have more questions, please. That I asked him, and he ignored me. He ignored when I asked him this question, and the question was, "How many women did you kill?" Of course, there was. I mean, it's been talked about forever, right? He ignored me. He called me a faggot. He told me to shut the F up and everything. But one of the other female psychologists said, Mr. Bundy, now he liked that. And they were asked to call him different things, right? And one of them said, Mr. Bundy, how many of my sisters did you kill, murder, dissect, decapitate, cannibalize? How many? He said to us, over 150.
Wow.
Okay. Over 150. You know, right before he was taken to the gas chair, no, to the electric chair, they called it Old Sparky, that he began to sing like a canary because he was tired of being in prison, right? So he thought, and again, very manipulative and very narcissistic of him, if he spoke to the authorities about, yeah, well, I can show you where more women are buried, but I have to go to the place. I have to show you myself. Well, they believed him. And so he and state marshals and whoever, they took him to different places. And yes, there were bodies there. They did find female bodies there. But the other places, it was just all a sham because he just wanted to go to these different places he's never been to before, you know? So why not work the system? And he worked it well. Finally, the authorities said, no, enough is enough. And so they stopped that. But there was a young girl. I was in grade school. She was in high school. She just graduated. And everybody back then, like I said, they walked and they hitchhiked everywhere, right? And they usually go to San Francisco or the Pacific Northwest because it's beautiful. And they went and going to California to the Monterey Festival, music festival, and all that stuff, right? And so the young girl who had just turned 18 lived down the road from me, and I was a little kid, right? And so I knew who she was, but my parents and her parents were friendly. They were good friends. And anyhow, she decided after graduation to walk to the Pacific Northwest. Unfortunately, Bundy picked her up, and she was one of the ones that he decapitated. And he decapitated every time he decapitated a woman. It was a trophy, and the head would sit in the front seat with him. When he stopped at the gas station or went to fast food, he would put a towel or a blanket over it so nobody saw it. But after he was on the highway, you know, and then he took the blanket off and such like that. Anyhow, for this young girl, he did decapitate her. And again, it is very, very hard to decapitate somebody. Up here in front, it's very easy to start here. But when you get further back into the neck and such like that, there's a lot of bones, there's a lot of muscles, ligaments. It's difficult.
So, a question that I have. So, to like kind of like summarize the amount of time that you spend with him for how many days was it that you interviewed him or talked to him with these other psychologists?
90 minutes,
Oh,
one day.
one day, 90 minutes. So you talk to him, you have and the day is done. What was the last thing that you said to him, and what was your thought process when you were leaving? And did you end up did you possibly have some regrets as to actually doing it, or are you still like, if you were to go back, would you do it over again?
In a heartbeat. I
Okay.
wouldn't. I would. I don't have any regrets. I was supposed to ask questions that I did at that time. Okay. Um, I remember that when he got up, 90 minutes was over, and we were only scheduled for 90 minutes with him. And when he got up, I remember he looked at the women and he winked at them. He wagged his tongue at them. He was very disrespectful. And when he looked at the other psychologist, he kind of like just nodded his head. That was it. But when he was walking to the door with the security, that he turned around. I'll never forget this. He turned around at me and winked at me. And he said, Robert, you probably know me better than anyone else has ever known.
Really? Wow. And how
And
did
in
that
fact,
make you feel?
when he said that to me, it was like, okay, now is this narcissism? Is this manipulation? Do you know what I mean? And so I really didn't feed into that. But later on, I thought about it, because I continued to write to him. I must have 10 letters from him. Okay. And I don't read them a lot. I know people said I could sell those for a lot of money. Those letters will be burned when I die, before I die. If I know when I'm going to die, nobody. But anyhow, but I remember that I wrote to him. I kept writing to him, and he would write me back. He never asked me for any money at all, nothing whatsoever. And anyhow, but again, my brothers and sisters in the paranormal field, and anybody else is listening to this, remember that when I was talking with him, his eyes were completely like walnuts. They were dead. There was nothing behind there at all, nothing at all. But when the other people and the other psychologists were talking to him, they did not see that. They did not experience that whatsoever. I continued to write to him, and I said, Ted, I would like to come to your execution. And a week later, he wrote back and he said, yes.
Okay.
And so it was myself and 42 and 41 other people. And I had written to his lawyer and to the superintendent or to the warden, and they gave me permission. It was really Ted's decision. And anyhow, and so he said, yeah. So I was there the day that he died, when to me, the electric chair was too easy for him. But I remember when he came into the room and he was bald, shaved bald. Well, you had to, because of sparky, electricity, electric chair. But he looked so different. He did not look like the man, animal, excuse me, the beast, that we interviewed. It was like that all of his vulnerability was there. You know what I mean? He didn't look like himself at all. Had lost weight, completely shaved. And I remember a Methodist minister came in and he told the minister to get the F out. And I remember his last words were, and he looked at us and he knew who was in there. And he said, I want everyone to know, and please let my family and friends know, that I love all of you.
What do you think? Why do you think he said that?
Again, it was just manipulation.
But what would be his end goal for, like, would it be?
What was his motivation for?
Yeah, well, like, even if it was manipulation, what do you think he was thinking of?
Because he had the last say. He had the last say. Okay, he wanted people to really know there was some redeeming factor to him, which was bullshit, because there never was, never will be, and all that was manipulation. Because it's almost like a confession, which I know in one of the interviews, he talked about how heinous it was. But if you look at his body language, if you look at his affect, his facial expressions, there's nothing there. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. So he manipulated up to the day that he was executed. Now, also, I must tell you that his brain was taken out of his skull. Scientists wanted to look at his brain, because in an abnormal brain, the lobes are going to be different than people who are sane. Well, all of us can be crazy now and then. I'm sure that you guys are sometimes crazy.
I know Santa gets a little crazy whenever he does a little Santa dance. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
But anyhow, but the lobes are different, especially the front lobes that have to do with emotions and stuff like that. The lobes are completely different, And but anyhow, just to be there, to experience him, to experience the manipulation, to experience the lies, to try to uncover some things, which I did. about the paranormal side, or maybe I shouldn't say paranormal side, but at least the dark side of him with the Ouija board and things like that. Okay, and right now I'm hearing him say that I did a very good job in explaining things, and I hear that from him. I do.
Really?
Yeah, and Steve, it what you have been feeling, which and tell me if I'm right or wrong. If I'm wrong, I mean, tell me either way. But what I'm feeling is that this past week, 2 weeks, and even prior to that, this has really been on your minds a lot. I know that you have other things on your plate and such like that, but you were really scared to do this program tonight. Isn't that correct?
I just wanted to do it the right way. I didn't want. I wanted to come in and do justice for it.
Okay, injustice in what area?
Justice in the fact that I think Sweats and Steve were very lively, joking, silly, make fun of each other a lot, and I definitely wanted to kind of stretch ourselves a little bit and be and kind of mature just a little bit because this is a very heavy topic, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't like if we come on here and I'm doing shower thoughts and Sweats is doing push-ups and all that, like that's a different show from what I think this needs. So I think a little stressed because like I wanted to make sure that we weren't just coming on and talking about Ted Bundy and being silly and like kind of making a joke of it. You know what I mean? Because I
Right,
wanted to be respectful of the families that he impacted,
right, very much so.
the
But
victims, the victims and the families.
right, but you know what, Steve? Also, what I'm sensing and feeling is that there is a lot of things, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but what I'm sensing and feeling is that your plate is pretty full. And yes, you already said the things that you were doing, right? But there are some things that you must work to come to some closure with. Please don't nod your head. Just stay. That I'm going to turn my back towards you. Okay? Here. Okay, this is, I'll tell you.
It's even Robert. Don't put that. Don't put Santa in front.
Okay, okay. I'll go like this. Okay. But what I'm sensing and feeling is that you have a lot of baggage around you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That you have a lot of baggage around you, my friend, and a lot of it has dirt and has moss on it, which means that you have not come to some closure with a lot of things that have happened early on in life. Does that make sense to you? And if it doesn't, tell me.
I don't know if it's early on. I think you're on point, but I don't know if it's early on.
Okay. Okay. So when I see this moss, see this baggage, and that you have stuffed many things. Right now, I see a cannoli being stuffed, and that's you just stuffing your emotions. It's
A
not to.
cannoli? You see a cannoli on TV?
I'm sorry. That's what I see. It's like this, and this, like
Yeah, yeah.
and but I just see that you have stuffed all these things, okay? And there, the
Go
main
ahead.
thing is
Go ahead.
the
Go
main
ahead.
thing is the main thing is that you have to come to terms with something that people have done to you that maybe no one knows about. Does that make sense? Say yes or no.
I don't want
Yeah.
to get into that.
Okay, okay, okay. But anyhow,
But
if you want,
I think you're close with something that,
okay, don't,
yeah.
don't. Okay, but anyhow, but let me say that also you have a good heart, but people have used that good heart. Okay, I see Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese.
Making me hungry, Robert.
Oh, ham and Swiss, please. When I see Swiss cheese, it's not that we're going to a Jewish deli. It's just the fact that when I see that, that is an indication that someone has been stabbed in the back over and over and over again. And yeah, people have.
um,
Does that make sense to you or not?
I think you're close, and I think it's okay for you to go further. I'll tell you when I'm like I don't want to go there. I think it's okay for you to go further. But
Okay.
I think you're close on some things. I just
Okay.
I think what's happening right now is you see things, you don't want to go too far, but I think if we take it step by step, I'll tell you when I don't want to talk about that, and we can move on if that's fair.
Okay. Yes. And okay, so I see your back is being Swiss cheese, which is an indication to me that you've been stabbed in the back many, many times, and that you have trusted the wrong people. But on the other hand, we have trusted, all of us have trusted people maybe that we shouldn't have. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I also see a doormat, and it's you that people have walked over, and you don't allow a lot of people in your inner circle. This is what I'm sensing and feeling. Okay, here, don't. But you don't trust a lot of people. You have very few. Here, I'll just turn it this way. Here,
Santa, give it to Santa.
Anna, but anyhow,
I'll tell you what. I'll do this, and you just keep going.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Anyhow, is it just the fact that you allow very few people to get into your inner sanctum, as they say, and because of how you have been emotionally and physically hurt and betrayed? This is what I'm thinking and feeling. Okay. And also in the relationships that you have been in, some of them have been very good and others have been very, very disastrous for you personally. And again, I don't want to go into a lot of things, but what I'm sensing and feeling is that things happened like in recent history, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it has shaped you. Okay. I I see you as little. I see you as an 8-year-old boy, 9-year-old. But I don't see a carefree kid. Carefree to a point. I see a little kid that's scared. I could be totally wrong. If I am, please tell me.
No, keep going. Keep going. I don't think you're wrong.
Anyhow, but that's what I'm sensing and feeling. Okay. Somebody has betrayed you terribly. I mean, granted, people lie to us all the time. You know, what the hell, you know? But when you have confided in the wrong people. Does that make sense to you? Because what has happened is that instead of being a confidant, or you went to them with full confidence that they would not spew things out or whatever, right? And before you know it was. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, but I don't think it's as malicious as it's being interpreted now. I think any of our longtime listeners or anyone out there kind of can probably know what has happened in the last, what year are we in? Like 12 something years? I honestly don't know. Like 10, like within the last 10 years, I think there's one milestone in my life that is kind of correlating for a lot of things for me.
Some of it has to do financial. That's what I'm sensing and feeling also.
No.
Okay.
Robert, I'm going to tell you one thing right now.
Right.
Steve's doing all right financially. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not going to get into that, Robert, but we're doing all right over there. Okay? But it's not financial now.
Okay.
And I don't think it's a romantic relationship either. I want to put that out there.
No. I think the main thing is, Steve, is that the closure that you need to come to, some things that you need to come to some closure with. You to Steve, what I'm sensing and feeling is that you can be your best friend and you can be your worst enemy also. And we all can, right? You have loathed yourself at one point. You hated yourself at one point. So you need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive yourself. We are so free to forgive someone else at a drop of a hat, right? But when it comes to self-forgiveness, it's difficult to do that. It is. Okay. There are other things that I want to say, but it's not the time or place.
I think if you go further, because you're you're on point with a lot of what you say. And again, I think certain people who hear this probably know what specifically you're talking about.
And
And that's
for me,
okay. Like again, it's not like Robert. I've been married almost 6 years. I've been with my wife for like 8 years. We're doing fine in that department. Finances are good, so I think I'm comfortable with you going further if you're comfortable going a little further.
no, I'm not.
Okay.
And it's just a fact that what I want to say is I don't think it's for other ears. I just don't.
Sure. No, that's fine. I respect that. I respect that. Yeah, I think I think what I'm thinking of, and to get very personal here on the show and not be the Steve of the Sweats and Steve show, to be like my authentic self, is what's funny is that I think the situation that changed my life was when I donated a kidney to my father, and that was in 2012, so that was almost 10 years ago now. It's coming up
Mhm.
on 10 years here. And he passed away probably what year are we in again? 20 He passed away in about 2019. Yeah, he passed away in 2019, so it's gonna be a couple of years here. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what has really, and you're right. I mean, I mean, when you lose a parent, or like, and the word that you said that really drilled home to me and spoke to me was the best friend part. And I won't go into detail, but my dad was my best friend. And yeah, and I think it goes to like wanting to be a kid again and having those good memories as a child, and being concerned with my son and me, and having a leave behind for him, and being able to support him. That's what my troubles are right now in life.
Right.
And Sweats, this is hand in hand with what I text you about what I feel
Right.
he's going to bring out of me tonight,
Yeah.
like verbatim, Robert. This is exactly what I was talking about with Sweats, and that's why I was just like, I'm not uncomfortable going there, because I do think that is something that I do need to bring close. You'll never have closure when you lose a parent that you're close to, right?
Right.
But that's something that I definitely need to move on from.
Yeah.
So now you know who I am and what I do, and that all psychic mediums are. I mean, except for Amy Allen, which I mean, she's always 100% correct, which drives me frickin' nuts because there is no experts in our field. There's not, because the paranormal field it's not an absolute science, and so the things that I pick up, things that I'm sensing and I'm feeling. Sometimes I interpret them wrong and such like that, and so I am who I am. You know, if all psychic mediums were 100% correct, we would be down at the lottery, state lottery, or
Oh
the
yeah.
horse race, all the winning. You know what I mean? But anyhow, let me tell you that the negative energy, Steve, that has been around you, a lot of it is your stress. Nothing against you. Do you know what I mean? You
My
know?
stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is stress and such like that. And a lot a lot of times we think we're invincible. We think we can do all this stuff, and so our plate gets full and all this other stuff that we're doing and such. But we are spiritual beings in a physical body, and our bodies can just take so much, and then we start breaking down, or what I mean, we're overly tired, then we get grumpy and all sorts of things. And let me tell you that what you're experiencing in your own gym or whatever, ready to box, Ted Bundy or whoever, that you needed to get that out. Everything happens for a reason. Okay. So you need to work out more and get that excess energy out. If you're pissed at somebody, beat the hell out of them.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to do right now is to drop the link in the chat, because I know we have the Vanilla Gorilla that wanted to join.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm gonna drop that in the chat.
So,
But
absolutely, Steve. Maybe sometime in the next couple of weeks. Um, maybe if you want to contact me, that we can go into more if you want to.
Sure, yeah, definitely. I'd love that.
Okay, because I also do past life regression, and I think that would be very helpful to you.
I don't know what I was in my past. I don't know if I want to know what I was in my past life, Robert.
Can you give us a hint? Can you give us a hint of what you're feeling, Robert?
If you're telling us that you had given your kidney to your father.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your father was your best friend, or still is your best friend. Okay, that there is a reason why you did. It's not that you. It is because you're best friends and you do love him, and he was in need of that, right? But it goes back in past lives of what led you to do that.
Okay.
Does that make you understand that at all?
No, I don't. So we'll need to talk about that.
I didn't know. You can get my number from Sweat.
Sounds good.
Because in our past life has led us to where we are at today.
Okay.
Okay. And that would be very helpful for you in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Now I wanted to take the time to introduce Vanilla Gorilla. His real name is Carlos. Carlos is Robert. Robert is Carlos. And Sam's got to do a dance. Robert, if you could, I don't know if Carlos is willing to participate, but what are you sensing off the Vanilla Gorilla right now?
I guess the thing was, Robert, that you asked for the Vanilla Gorilla specifically. You said you wanted him to be on.
Yeah, I did, and something about I'm intrigued with that nickname. Do you like vanilla ice cream or whatever, or
no? My buddy gave me that nickname. I'm starting my own podcast with a group of buddies of mine, and another buddy said, "Hey, you should go run with the nickname Vanilla Gorilla," mainly because I'm the biggest one of my group, and I'm the whitest one of my group as well. So I'm Hispanic, and nobody will ever recognize me as Hispanic. I just look like a white guy, and he happens to have a way with words, and he says, "Hey, you should call yourself the Vanilla Gorilla," and I liked it, and I ran with it, and I got requested to be on here, which I'm honored. That's awesome that you requested me. So nice to meet you. And
so I am half Hispanic and half Italian, and I think maybe it's that connection. Maybe that's a connection.
Yeah, maybe it could be totally. So.
Because I saw you on the pre-Thanksgiving show, and I was just everybody was having a wonderful time. People you were eating pie and milk and whatever it was and crap like that.
Don't bring up the milk, Robert. Don't bring up the milk.
I thought it was wonderful, but I wanted to meet you personally because I don't know. There was something that there was this connection. I just felt this connection, and maybe it is because we're both Spanish, so that could be it. It could be that spirituality, not religious, but spiritually.
Yeah, definitely.
What I must tell you is we all have to change things in our lives. We all do, okay? But it's just a fact with you, my friend. And now you could beat the hell out of me because you're bigger than I am. I'm a little guy, really.
I'm a gentle giant. I don't do those things, but yeah, okay.
Okay. But there are some things that are just pissing you off big time. And you just need to let people know you need to let people know enough is enough. And you do it, but you need to be more forceful. Does that make sense to you or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So do that. So do that. If you want me to come and beat them up, I will.
Yeah, bring that Santa.
For sure. But I wanted to meet you for a specific reason, and I kept watching the pre-Thanksgiving show. I kept watching it, and I was trying to get my spirits, my angels, to say, why do I want to meet the gorillas, Vanilla Gorilla?
Yeah.
And they just said you have to meet him, and so I'm glad that I met you.
And what are your thoughts after meeting him?
Oh, you know what? If I saw him in an alley, just this gay guy would run like a sissy. Really, but I would run.
Robert, you're being coy with me. You have not been coy this entire time. What are the angels telling you?
About him?
Yes.
That we have this connection, that probably that we are connected more, probably for a specific reason.
Okay.
I feel very, very safe with him. I really do, sir. I do. I feel very, very safe. There's something that I'm connected to you about, and I don't know what it is. I don't have a clue. But when I feel that connection, that in time that I will find out, maybe I knew you in a past life. Maybe I did, Maybe I was.
Maybe he was a gorilla in a past life.
Or
Not any gorilla, a vanilla gorilla.
Or maybe he was Santa Ana. Maybe he was Santa Ana. I have no idea. Or maybe I don't know. But there's this connection with you, sir, and that's why I wanted to meet you too. And there still is. There's something about your charisma. It's not that you're a serial killer. Not at all. I'm not saying.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
There's something about your aura around you. All of you, really, all of you. Okay. There's something about your aura, Mr. Gorilla. I'll call you Mr. Gorilla. Okay.
Okay.
You know what? I'd rather call you Mr. Gorilla than Mr. Vanilla Gorilla. Okay. But anyhow, Mr. Gorilla, you have this beautiful aura around you, and you're kind of like a big teddy bear too. You really are. People are really, when they see, because you're a big man, okay, and you are very intimidating to a lot of people. And being a big man as you are, a lot of people would like to get close to you, but I think people are scared of you because of your size. But I think if people got to know you better, I think people would enjoy your friendship. I think that they would. But on the other hand, nobody should mess with this dude because he beats the hell out of you. So,
I think you're spot on. I agree. I'm a lovely person.
Okay. Okay. But anyhow, I just wanted to meet you. But Steve, there is something, I'm being drawn to you too, but in a different way from Mr. Gorilla. Okay. And so,
well, it was a pleasure. You can always check us out on our SOS podcast. Sorry for dropping that in there. But we're starting our own podcast, Robert. So if you want to check us out, we're going to be the SOS podcast sometimes on Sundays. So I pop on here from time to time to promote. But I'll leave you guys back to your show. And thanks for having me on. Nice meeting you. And
okay. Well, hold on before you go, Mr. Gorilla. So what is your show going to be about?
It's a variety show, so it's a little bit of whatever we're interested in. So it's going to be anything really, kind of how Steve and Sweats play it.
It's Sweats and Steve, by the way.
Or Sweats and Steve. I apologize. I always mess that up. It's Sweats and Steve. But yeah, it's a variety. So we'd love to have you on at some point too. You come talk to us about, I know you don't want to talk about Ted Bundy anymore, but if you got some good stuff, we can, we'll figure it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Gorilla. See, I was supposed to meet you for a reason. And have love, light, and peace to you, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Christmas. And you take care of yourself. And please, you need to stop eating all the fat. Get away from the lard, please.
Man, you're right on there.
Hey, real quick, do we have an update for when we'll see the first episode, or still working
Mid-January?
Mid-January. Okay, that's good to know. Go back to the last podcast boot camp and follow their socials and stay up to date on that. But hell yeah!
Everybody.
All right.
Peace out, Carlos.
Take care.
I think in the spirit, since we're going off of readings and stuff, why don't you do me, Robert? Why don't you do me in?
Well, one of the things that fascinates me, and it fascinates my spirit, my angels, are your glasses.
Yeah.
When somebody wears glasses like that, they're hiding. What are they hiding from? Are they hiding from whatever, or are they hiding from themselves?
Well, Robert, let me give you the rundown and the skinny. of what these glasses are. These glasses are a cosmic entity. They're multidimensional, and they spawn from the multiverse. They fell down in my backyard, and
What in
they.
the hell are you even talking about? That is really beyond me.
Well, hold on. Let me break it
Wow.
down. I'm pretty sure you can wrap your head around it if you try, Robert. You're a smart guy. You know. Yeah, Santa. What's Santa doing? Is he having a coronary?
Yeah, he can't deal with it no more. It's just like no, go ahead.
Mickey says we all wear glasses, metaphorically speaking.
It's from the mask. I'm gonna sit back like this.
But anyway,
Oh.
you want to continue to read me, Robert?
Okay. These glasses. Can I ask you to take those off?
Whoa!
Nope, never done it, Robert. Robert, he's never done it.
That's a 1 million subscriber special. But I think maybe in private, I think I might consider taking off my glasses for you, my friend.
Okay. So what I'm sensing and feeling about you, I think that you love to laugh, but I think a lot of times when you're in pain, that you hide behind. You laugh a lot because of your pain, and that's how you deal with.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, it would be like I think overall in the experiencing of pain that you've heard the phrase if I don't laugh I'm gonna cry sometimes, which I mean I do love to laugh in general, but I mean if it's crying or laughing, oh yeah, I definitely would laugh because I mean there's more benefits to it.
Right, there are. But I'm just fascinated with your glasses. It's like, now, and when I first met you guys and through Ken Allen, okay, it was like, oh my God, why is he wearing glasses? Does he have like some eye disease? Maybe he's blind. Maybe he, I know I didn't even go there. But anyhow, it's like, what what is wrong? Is he hiding, or is it just kind of like it's kind of like his shtick that he wears these glasses? And you also do that thing what's amazing, which I think is adorable.
What's going on? What's going on?
Some psychiatrists would put you on Ritalin. They would. Don't believe they put you on Adderall or Ritalin or some type of medication to calm you down. I bet you were just a wild child. Really? Hold on. You have all this energy. And I don't think it just started 2 days ago. I think you have always been full of piss and vinegar, right? Or not?
Well, definitely, I have piss inside me, but I don't know about vinegar. It tastes kind of better. I don't like it.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Anyhow, but I love your spirit. I do. I love your spirit. You wear those for a reason, and so if that's your shtick, that's fine. But it says a lot about you. It says a lot about when people wear different things like glasses or a specific hat or whatever, right? Or even Santa's stupid hat. You know what I mean? I think you're fascinating. I love your aura. I love the difference between, and you guys are cousins, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What the difference is that Steve is more guarded. He's very guarded, where you're not, Sweats. It's almost like that you wear your emotions almost on your sleeve, where Steve is very guarded. Does that make sense to you or not?
Yeah, I mean, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Okay, and it's just what I want to delve into more with Steve sometimes is his not wanting. I mean, wanting to hear about Ted Bundy, right? But how that you were not scared of what we were going to talk about, but you were kind of apprehensive. You know what I mean? I want to know where that apprehension comes from. That's what I want to delve into your mind of, because when I saw the pre-Thanksgiving show, it was like that you had a lot of trepidation about doing a show about Ted Bundy. And that fascinated me. That, and the more that I watched it and the more that you were adamant about, because your show is very lighthearted. It is, and I understand that. I love you guys because there's so much, because there's so much negativity in the world right now, so we need to laugh and such like that. But I was just fascinated of how serious you were when you were talking about Ted Bundy and talking about me. And I know the other guy said there was another gentleman on with you too, and he had
Woods, he can come on. He's in the chat. Woods, get in here.
okay.
Yeah, Whoops, here, I'll drop the link in the chat to join.
Was he the guy eating the pie or was he the drunk guy?
He was the guy with glasses. He was the guy, his Hispanic guy with glasses.
Yeah, Jorge
that was
or George.
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 That was Whoops. George didn't come on for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, the link is in the chat. While we're it'd be cool to get Whoops in here actually. I wanted to get to one thing definitely for sure, and then we could get to Whoops if you wanted to come in. So we talked about Ted Bundy. We talked about the spirit world and some of that. The one thing we haven't touched on that it's in the title, so we have to get on, talk about it, even if a little. The children in need. Now, you when we spoke in private, you talked a lot about your experiences of working with children in need and stuff. And I know this is a very touchy subject for you because I know it strikes it strikes an emotional chord within you. I know that for sure, Robert. So feel free to talk about it however you like, but tell us about what that part of your life is all about and what it means to you.
Okay, we're talking about the children that I volunteer in this hospice.
Right.
And I'm usually called in just hours before these precious angels leave this earthly dimension for the heavenly dimension. And these parents know that I'm a psychic medium. They also know that I'm a forensic psychologist. And so they have to give their permission. And I must tell people that anytime that I have any client or I'm volunteering with children, anything like that, I always have the parents within eyeshot of us and earshot also. Okay. It's very important that I'm very transparent. It protects me, protects the child, protects all of us, right? Anyhow, some children will say, like with Lucas, when I went into his room, I knocked on his door and he said, "What took you so long?" And he had no idea that I was coming. His parents never told him that I was coming or someone was coming. And so these children are so connected with the spirit. You know what I mean? So connected with their own angels and stuff like that. They're like a sponge. They're so connected with the other side. As far as I'm concerned, there's no veil at all when it comes to children, not at all. And Lucas, and I usually when I go to any child and I know that they have leukemia and such like that, I always shave my hair. I shave my hair, eyebrows, mustache. I have no hair like they do. And the kid and the little kid like Lucas would, pat me on the head and such like that. And and so I bring my guitar and I sing. I bring him books. I bring him blankets. I bring him stuffed animals. And so whatever the child wants to talk about, and what I usually do also is that I talk about angels, right? And I tell like Lucas and Gracie and Anna and Derek and Michael that I've been with and 15 others that I'm only here to walk with you part of the way on your journey, that you're going to a beautiful park where there's no more needles, no more hospitals, that you're able to run and you can play soccer and football and you can wrestle around and jump on the monkey bars and go swinging and such like that. But that's where you're going to go in this. I can't go with you all the way. I can go part of the way with you. But this beautiful angel who will be coming very, very soon for you will take you the rest of the way. And so the children will talk to me about angels. And a lot of times a lot of times, even the parents will see these angels. A lot of times, my friends, there'll be like a bright light, and the parents actually see that in the room also, besides the children. And when the angel gets closer, some of these angels, some of them have wings, some of them don't, and the children will respond to that. They'll say, "Oh, look at that angel's coming. He doesn't have any wings." I said, "Well, sometimes they have wings, sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes they're angels, they're children. Of the children that they would meet in the hospital, who have already gone to heaven, and they're angels. And so a lot of times little children angels, child angels, will come and take the kids home to paradise, or to take them to this big park. And the air begins to change in the room, and their breathing becomes differently. And I tell their parents, this is the time. This is the time for you to get into bed with your child and tell them what you want them to know this very moment, because in a very short period of time, you're not going to be able to physically, you know, see your child in front of you. So talk to your child, talk, and to hear these mothers and these fathers start wailing and just sobbing. Oh my God. And so I cry along with them because I feel their emotion, I feel their pain. My brothers and sisters who are listening and watching this, it's just the fact that these parents have seen their child decline, dying in front of them for a year, maybe 2 years. Okay. So they have already had all these emotions, and now it's getting to the point where they see the light of the tunnel. They will say that to me. The parents will say, Robert, I now can see the light within their own tunnel, which means that when their child has passed in heaven, it is a sense of relief to them. Of course, they love their child, and they're going to feel the pain and and the frustration and those types of things. But it is a sense of relief because they no longer see their child in pain. Okay.
And if I may, like, how long have you been going? So, do you go all over the country? And if so, how long have you been doing this work where you go and see these children that aren't going to be around for very much longer? How long have you been doing that?
Children's Hospice is in Peoria, and it's the only hospice that I volunteer in when it comes to children. Okay. But I have been to Shriners Hospital, which is in Chicago area and such. I've been there because a little friend of mine, he was terrified of needles. And when kids go to Shriners, they usually have to go for infusions and such like that. They got to start the ID. These children are terrified. Okay? I heard of this little boy who was so scared, and so I called his family and asked him if I could be any assistance in helping this child to getting over the fear of the needle before it was stuck in, right? And they said, yeah, because they've tried everything, nothing worked. And so I met with this little guy. I can say his first name. His first name is Logan. And God rest his soul. He was such a good boy. And anyhow, he they would have to hold him down. A lot of times they would break a bone. They would break his arm holding him down to get an IV, or they would sedate him, right? But after talking with him for days on end, that we had to have this trust between us, right? And any kind of like counseling or therapy, right? Well, I asked him about his happy place. Where's your happy place? And so we did some therapy, drawing. And so he drew for me. He drew a forest. He liked being out in the forest. He liked the little animals and those types of things. So that was his happy place. So by knowing that, and with the help of my angels, that I began to meet with him. The door was always open. He would like get very relaxed on a couch, on the sofa. His parents were within eye shot and earshot. And I would take him into his happy place. I would bring a twig because he had told me about walking into the forest during the fall time. He liked deer and stuff like that, right? And so in the fall, the leaves would, I mean, the trees would crack, right? And so I would bring that in and break it. And so that crack took him into the forest. And so I was with him in the forest to go to a happy place and then breathe in and then breathe out slowly. This little boy, after so many years of him having to be tied down and broken bones besides, he got to the point, and I was with him at Shriners 3 or 4 times, walking him through to his happy place and everything like that. But he got to the point where all that I had taped us going to his happy place, and it got to a point where his mother just turned this recording on of me talking about going into the forest and hearing all the little animals and hearing and smelling and having having maybe light snow or drizzle touch his face and sting his face because it is so cold. And so he got to the point where he would just put his arm out and listen to me talk with him to take him to his happy place. And they put the IV right in. And so it was, and so other doctors saw me do this, and they reached out to me and asked me if I would help the other kids there who were so terrified of needles and such like that. And so that's what I did for a long time.
And so how long have you been doing this?
Probably Logan. I was with Logan for a year and a half. I would say 4 years altogether.
Okay.
I haven't been at Shriners for a long time, but they know I'm, anytime they need me to help with these children, then I'm there to help.
Okay. And how many children have you like helped, like kind of either with some like situations like that? How many would you say that you've helped out?
When it comes to Shriners, I would say 15.
Okay. Wow. That's a pretty good number. And
No,
what's the reaction that you get from like the parents or the guardians or whoever?
the parents are amazed. They're really, really amazed that 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 I found what they needed to do. They were astonished that I took them to their happy place because they never thought about that. And even other psychologists, child psychologists within Shriners or St. Jude down in Memphis, they never even thought about that, which is just mind-boggling to me. You know what I mean? But so I took these children to their happy places. And some was out in the forest. They they went to the forest, or maybe going swimming, going to the ocean, talked about the mountains and such like that. But just taking children to their happy place, what made them the happiest, what made them more relaxed, and that's what we focused on. We focused on the happiness, the happy place.
Right. It's one thing, Robert, that I mean, I could be wrong, but we've talked about so much tonight, working with these children, your experiences with Ted Bundy and stuff like that. It's kind of strange that you don't have a book written. I'll like it'd be very interesting to see you write a book, and I know I'd definitely like to read it for sure.
It is my journey, as Steve has his, and Sweat, you have yours. And our journeys are our own personal journey. And like I said, I've kept documentation for the past 50 years of my life and every experience. Like tonight, I will write about how I felt before, how I felt during, and now afterward, how I feel. And those journals are for my eyes only. And it's, you know, but I tell of my journey to others just in case somebody may be on the same journey. You know, I also help children that I mentor, some of them in Chicago area that we've talked about already, but all over the country. And at this very moment, statistically, maybe 16 minutes, a young person within the paranormal field is committing suicide.
Really? Oh wow.
And when these parents have heard me on different podcasts about helping children within the paranormal field, it's like takes me back to when I first experienced my when I was 4 years old, right? I was born in 1958. I had my first experience, right? I had to be very, very careful because the authorities could have taken me away from my parents. They could have put me in a state hospital. They could have done all sorts of things to me because the paranormal was not talked about at all. It was taboo. But 40 years prior to that, people were tipping tables, doing seances and everything. So our culture kind of goes back and forth and stuff like that about it. But what helped me was I learned myself how to turn it on and off. And I taught these children. If I thought these children were psychiatrically ill, I'd be the first one to tell their parents to take them to a psychiatrist to be tested, right? These children are not psychiatrically ill. They are truly gifted. They're truly gifted and talented. Some of them are empaths, some are intuitive, some are psychic, some are the medium. I mean, there's different levels also. Some of them see ghost animals, right? And but how I learned how to turn it on and off at an early age is something so simple. And that is that when we're in school, when the teacher says, open your book, we open our book, right? When the lesson is over, we close it. And that clicked in my mind. Okay. I can open myself to the spirit world, open it up. And when I'm done, close it. Open it up and close it. It took me 6 months. And the spirits weren't happy about that either, but because I was tuning them in or tuning them out, right? And so when I would meet with these children, I taught them how to turn it off and turn it on. Sometimes some kids were very loners, and they were loners in school. If they weren't getting good grades, they couldn't talk to anyone about it. You know what I mean? Of what they were experiencing. Parents didn't know what to do. Parents were pushing them away. There were 2 children that attempted suicide before I could get to them. And by the grace, were found in time and taken to the hospital. Those children are doing beautifully now. There were 2 other kids that started to self-mutilate themselves. And you could see scars up and down their arm of where they got it.
Right.
And it's not the pain. What they wanted to see, anybody who self-mutilates, it's not the pain they feel because they will feel the pain. What they want to see is blood because blood means life. So they saw the life in them dripping out of them. Okay. And so, but just being with those children, helping those children, and some of them, I mean, they're doing wonderfully now. They really, really are. And I just thank God that I was where I needed to be at that given time to be with these children, you know. And again, my friends, it's not all about me. I fall short of the glory of God every day of my life. I am not perfect at all, but every day I get up, when I wake up, there is a purpose in my life, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What and the last question that I guess for the podcast would be, what's in store for you? What's in store for you in the future? Where because I like the way that you talk about your what you do and stuff. It kind of seems like yeah, and you send me a lot of like pictures as well as like some of the locations and destinations that you go to. It kind of seems like you're like on a journey, on an actual like journey, on an adventure. So I guess like the last question would be what's your next move? What's in store for you? And any last remarks?
What's in store for me is still a mystery.
Okay, that's a good answer because that's true.
And I know there are some things that I want to do, and if I get them accomplished, I will. I'm supposed to. I'll get them accomplished. If I'm not, then I'm not. One of my greatest mottos is that we are spiritual beings in a physical body, and we have to always remember that. And also is that for me personally, I believe that we're all called to serve in some way or another. As Steve served his father by giving him his kidney, that's a great service. It is. You know, it wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right decision. And so I believe that God or the Father Universe puts us where we need to be at any given time. Okay. It just wasn't by chance, Steve, that you were a match. You know what I mean? Because maybe that you weren't. You know what I mean? But you were, right? Okay. And so I believe that God puts us where we need to be at any given time. So I don't think God is finished with me yet. I don't presume to know the will of God. But you know what? If I die this very second, I know I can't do anything about it, of course, but it's just the fact that I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of dying. Not at all. And when I see on Facebook, people will say, and God bless them, they'll say, if you're happy that God woke you up today, say amen. And I will comment, say, why are you happy? Why are you happy? Are you that scared of death? You know?
Yeah.
Somebody asked me one time, I know that you want to go, but somebody asked me one time about fear. And I said, it's not getting over the fear, it is understanding the fear. Where does the So it's not getting over the fear, it's understanding the fear. And when one understands the fear, they will become less fearful. Anyhow, you folks know who I am. I am who I am. I'm not any greater or less than anyone else, you know? And Steve, do you have another question? Because I just feel you're like on this roller coaster right now. Am I right or wrong?
I wouldn't say that. I guess my final question for you is, what happens when we die?
That's for our own spirituality. Okay. For me, I believe if we have learned the lesson of life, and then like for me personally, I've learned the lesson in life. I have come back 6 damn times and I'm done because I have learned the lesson in life. So when I die this time, I don't believe in reincarnation, but I believe in is that our spirits come back, right? Okay. I have learned my lesson in life. And when I physically die this time, I don't have to my spirit doesn't come back. I will be totally at rest.
Yeah.
But a lot of but a lot of people have not learned the lesson of life yet. And if they don't, they will continue to come back not physically, but spiritually. It's just like, have you guys ever, and my paranormal brothers and sisters, have you ever like walked someplace or been someplace and all at once you think, oh my God, have I been here before? Or you listen to music and it's very soothing to you, but you don't know why.
Deja vu, in a way.
What is deja vu?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like no one really knows. There's really no reason to 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 think that you've been somewhere when, like
Right,
you, yeah.
right. In psychology, deja vu, psychologists will tell you that no, it's not that you have been there before, but when the eye sees something, there is a circuit that just is broken for a second or two to our brain. And so when we're there, we think that we've already been there, but we haven't. That's what psychologists say. So
Do you necessarily believe that, or do you believe that it's like from residual knowledge from past lives or something like that?
I truly
Okay.
believe I truly believe in past lives. I do. Because we're here for a specific reason. Why are you here, Sweats? Why are you here, Steve? Steve, you're here because if you weren't here, uh, your grandfather would not, your father would not get your kidney, right?
Right.
Okay.
But I think I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I ask myself why I'm here all the time. You know.
So give yourself a break sometimes, you know?
Yeah, give yourself a break, Steve.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Give yourself a break. But you know what? That you were here for you're here for a specific reason. Okay? And you fulfilled that. You fulfilled that. What I'm sensing and feeling is that when God or Father Universe calls you home, and people must realize this is our temporary home. This isn't our home forever. The earth isn't. You know what I mean? Okay. And it's just the fact that, and again, whatever your spirituality is too, but it's just the fact, Steve, that when you are called from this universe, you won't you won't be coming back. You won't.
See, that's where I have issues because I don't want to be anywhere that doesn't involve my wife or my son. You know,
Right.
like anywhere that doesn't involve them is something that I just don't want. I want nothing to do with that. Like I know that I probably only get anywhere between 1 day and I don't know 50 years of life. So anywhere between there, I personally want to just be the best husband I can, be the best father I can, be the best friend that I can, you
Right.
know, to them. And obviously, I want to support Sweats the best that I can
Yeah,
too.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But outside of that, like at my age now, that's my priority. Like I want nothing to do with anything other than that. I just want to be with my family.
Right. And so family is very important to you, and your
Hmm.
spirituality is based upon that, not religious. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spirituality. So your spirituality tells you that your family is most important to you, right?
Right. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. When you leave this dimension, universe, okay, this earthly plane, that because of your spirituality, but your wife has to have the same spirituality as you do, and so does your child. Does that make sense to you?
I think my wife has the same, but I don't know. My son's still too young to,
Okay.
I think,
Okay.
have spirituality. Yeah.
But not religiously. What I'm saying,
Sure, sure,
if your wife is on the same page as you are spiritually, not religiously, spiritually, then you will be connected in the next life. Okay?
That's my problem is because I think when we die, like nothing happens. You just die. That's it. You just no longer exist. Like there is no other plane. There is no other dimension. I just think that you're dead and it's black and it's gone. And like that's my interpretation, and I think that's what's so stressful because it's just like it puts more emphasis on the way that you live. You know what I mean?
Right. But don't become obsessed with it. If
Yeah.
you don't become obsessed with it, because love prevails over hate. Love has everything to do with seeing our loved ones on the other side. Some people may disagree with me, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But for me personally, people need to give love kudos, you know what I mean? Because it is strong, it's such a strong emotion. Okay, it's very, very strong, as you know. So if your wife and you have this strong connection, which you say you do, which I'm believing that you do, okay, you're so connected in so many ways, right? It's almost like you're twin flames. Have you ever heard that expression?
No.
Twin flame are more, you know how people say, oh, well, that's my soulmate, right?
Right.
We can have 1,000 soulmates for different reasons. They don't have to be all encapsulated in a wife or a husband, right? You can be a soulmate with Sweats because of what you have in common, right? That is like a soulmate, okay? But twin flame is that fire of that emotion of love is so intense that even the grave is not going to keep you separated. Does that make sense?
I hope that's the case.
One thing that and it's hard to do, and it's just not you, my friend, it's a lot of
Mhm.
people,
Yeah, I know.
to get that kind of like, well, I hope, so I do believe in a way, but what if? All of us need to stop using the words if, would, and could, should, because all those are guilt. words. Okay. So what you need to do is start believing in what you're feeling. Okay. The intense love that you have for your wife. Okay. It's not that you question it here on earth. What the question is that going to be like on the other side, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Well, is there? I know I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is there another side?
Yes. Uh, for me personally, yes. Because if there wasn't, then why are these angels taking these children to heaven? Why are people seeing all these things if there isn't something else? Okay.
And I guess for me, I don't have the fortune of seeing that, so it's hard for me to believe that, you know. And I'm not discrediting anything, Robert. You and I are cool. We're buddies. You come to Chicago, I go to where you live. I think we get a drink. I think we chop it up. We have a nice conversation, you know. But
Mhm.
like for me, I don't have that luxury of seeing that, and that's where I have a hard time like having like your experiences I haven't seen, so that's where I struggle with.
Okay. Would you be open to seeing those things?
Yes, I would.
But you hesitated in a way. You hesitated.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
I think it's probably because when we had Ken and
Sluts, we're
Mr.
getting into it now, man. It's
Yeah,
Saturday. It's a Friday night
whenever
show. The Omicron or Omicron is kicking ass. We got 9 viewers. Let's keep going.
well, I'm seeing 12, but shout out to the viewers actually. But I
Okay.
was gonna say because Robert, we every now and then Steve will have an experience that he can't necessarily explain. I mean,
Yeah.
when we had Ken and Mistress B on, he was feeling a certain way. His ear was getting red and hot and like, and so that was an experience he couldn't explain. And
And they're
I
not
know
red and hot now. What's
that,
going on?
yeah.
They're normal color now. See?
So
But
open yourself up. Open yourself up to the potential because I don't want you on your deathbed, dying, gasping, whatever.
Is that how I'm gonna die? I'm gonna gasp?
We
hopefully
all,
not.
but most of us do. Most of us die by asphyxiation because what happens is that our heart rate begins to change, become slower. Okay, what happens is the buildup of fluid in our lungs. We begin to drown in our own fluid. That's why people talk about the death rattle. You know, people will talk about that, right? And all that is, it's the fluid from our lungs coming up to our throat. And you hear that rattle. The rattle is the fluid. So when our heart begins to become slower, the heart cannot get the fluid out of our lungs. Our lungs would be filled up with fluid in a second if if we if our breathing stopped, if our breathing became differently, right? Okay. So our lungs become filled. We die by asphyxiation. Basically, we are drowning in our own fluids when we die, basically. Okay. That's where the death rattle comes from. Okay. But what you need to do, Steve, is you have to think about that love that you have for your wife, this intense love that you have for your wife. Okay. The intense love you have for your child. Okay. Your child loves you unconditionally. Okay. At this moment, you love your child unconditionally because your child's not a teenager yet. You know, you know, but just the fact that if you and your wife are on the same page and spiritually, not religiously, spiritually, and truly believe without question that you're going to be with each other when the other one passes, right? That is going to happen. Okay? It does. When we go to heaven, physically, it's not our bodies, but spiritually, your spirit will know your wife and your wife will know you in that love that love, that burning sensation, that giddy feeling that you get when you see her or when you after you come home from work or school, right? Or for her also, and how that makes you feel. Never forget that moment when you kiss your wife goodnight or you kiss your wife in the morning. Never forget that feeling. Never. Okay? Because over the years, that love will begin to change. And I understand that. But the love is still love. Okay? Down the road, you and your wife will become even better friends. I'm not saying that you're not friends now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah.
but it's going to change. When there's children involved, kids take a lot of take a lot of our time into sports and whatever they want to get into, right? So we find ourselves sometimes the parents will be on the same path in a way, but they become kind of distant. Do they still love each other? Yes. Do they still have that type of lust for each other? Yes. But because of work, schooling, sports, children, and whatever, right? That they kind of lose. It's not that they lose love for each other, because it's not. What it is that you guys are preoccupied doing other things, right?
Right, right.
When the child gets out of the home, I've seen this over and over, even with my own parents. My parents became lovers again, like they did when were courting each other. Okay, they become better friends. They started to go to the movies together that they did years ago, right? They started to play cards together with other friends because now their children's out of the house, right? So be on the same page with your darling wife that you love her dearly. She is your best friend. You are her best friend. And just have that always remember that burning sensation of love. It may dim a little, but it's still there. And when your child is out of the house and your child is doing what he or she needs to do, right? And then they're doing well, okay? That flame becomes higher and higher. Okay.
It would be interesting to know what Fiona thinks of all this. I don't know if she's watching right now, but
No, she just got her booster shot, and it's around 12 hours since she got it. So I'm sure
oh,
she's,
okay.
I'm,
Well,
uh, I'm
maybe
sure
she'll watch the
she's,
replay. I'll leave an F in the chat. There you go.
yeah.
Everybody's watching. Leave an F in the chat for Fiona. This has been great.
Now,
Well,
so now you know who I am. Do you have any other questions? But Steve, like I said, we'll talk some other time too.
Yeah.
But Steve, let me tell you that I don't know you only for tonight, but I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very,
yeah,
very
I'm proud
proud.
of Steve too.
Thank you.
And Santa's brother. Santa,
Thank you so much, Steve. We'll talk later. Can I give my telephone number out just in case somebody needs?
if you want to, that's fine.
It's all over the universe, for God's sakes. It is,
Go
It's,
ahead.
it's 309-213-0325. 309-213-0325. I want my family and friends to know, my paranormal family and friends to know that I do not charge for anything that I do. I never have and I never will. In fact, I'm doing angelic Christmas tea. It's sweats. I sent you the picture of my beautiful friend's home. And anyhow, that's going to take place Saturday at 2 o'clock from 2 to 4. It's a private event. At first, there was only going to be 25 people, and now it's up to 50. So, anyhow,
Well, they all want to come see you. That's for sure.
well, it's not all about me, but I thank you so very much. Anybody have any final questions?
Steve, you got anything to say? Anything
No,
on the
Robert,
platform?
I enjoyed our conversation. I love, I love having just conversations of a mind without like emotions or egos and whatnot. And I definitely feel like we were able to have that this afternoon where we were able to provide different viewpoints of the same subject matter. And I feel like we were both respectful of each other's conversation. I love the conversation on Ted Bundy, so thank you for that. I love the
Yeah.
readings. Thank you for reading the Vanilla Gorilla as well. So yeah, but it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you folks. And my family and my paranormal family and friends is that we need to agree. We need to agree to disagree politely and civilly. And that's what's happening in our field right now, that people can't sit down and have an open discussion.
Right.
People get pissed off. And, the ego within the paranormal field right now is off the chain. It's horrible. And that's what is happening. And I know that I talked to Sweats about what's happening in the state of Illinois, our state, and he can and he can fill Steve, he can fill you in, and maybe I can come back and do another show about that. What's going to be happening within the state of Illinois too, and next year, and but anyhow, I appreciate you guys so very very much. I can't see what that says.
Mickey says, "Thanks, Robert. This was definitely one of the most interesting shows, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas with the Santa emoji."
Oh, Santa too, and Santa wants to say love, light, and peace to everyone. And Steve, let's get connected sometime, and we'll chit chat. And Sweats, thank you so very much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure. I was actually gonna run you a little applause track. There you
go. Everyone, and be good to each other, and especially be good to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Well,
Thank you, Robert.
very last thing that I want to do before we go. Shout out to Robert. Can we drop some R's in the chat before we end the show for Robert, please? And before we go, I wanted to just show what our next show was going to be when you can catch us next. We will be. Oh, wrong one.
Why am I still an elf?
Because I put this in like a couple of weeks ago.
I think I should be Rudolph.
I'll switch it to Rudolph. Before next week. But next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. we're gonna do the Christmas special. I think we should try to get Woobs back on, and maybe we could do like a gingerbread cookie eating contest where we drink lots of milk. And
are you looking for redemption?
Kind of something. I don't know, but
I mean, I could call them. I don't know. We gotta those sometimes on Sundays, guys. They're really big on contracts, so they get upset when one of them comes on this show. It's weird.
No, yeah, I mean, we'll try to get a hold of them and see what we can do. But I'm gonna think of some other things to do. Maybe we'll look at some videos and whatnot. But yeah, that's gonna be next Thursday, December 23rd at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Christmas special, 2021, aka episode number 39. And let's see, we got ours.
I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Robert. Definitely. Maybe you could come in the chat and or on the live stream and tell us some Christmas stories or something.
Okay, sounds good. We'll do that.
We got some R's for you. Matthew left an R. Willie left an R for you. Steve, lots of support for you, Robert. But
thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for coming on. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been episode number 38, Inside Two Minds of the Sweats and Steve show. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Catch us again next Thursday for the Christmas special. And as always, bye guys.